Rodriguez. Pitt wins the toss, defers, and we are underway. Adam Gressel's kick will not be returned. And after the touchback, West Virginia with Rasheed Marshall, the junior quarterback from Pittsburgh. Sat out last week, had a concussion 2 games ago against Central Florida. He had headaches about 4 days still after the concussion, but he says they've been gone for better than a week now. One of 14 Mountaineers from Western Pennsylvania. And less than 50% this year. What you're used to from a Rich Rodriguez offense, you're not going to see from this West Virginia team. They are much more threatening on the ground than they are through the air. And that brings us to Mr. Wilson, number 3. And his first carry will for 3 yards. Our Bud Light starting.
Chris Henry, number 5, is thought by his coaches to have the potential to be like Larry Fitzgerald, and I swear in practice Thursday that's exactly how he looked. He has great ability.
So the hurry up is what West Virginia stays in. Basically the entire game. Across the 40-yard line for K.J. Harris, a gain of 18 yards. Junior out of Tampa. Wilson offensive front. And Sheffy gets a start for Dan Moses, who's learning a lesson about punctuality. He'll get in a couple of series later. Up front defensively for the Panthers, Harriet, all Big East, led the conference in sacks last year. It's a veteran group. Pershunas, Stevens, both returning starters. And straight through the middle, knocked back after a pickup of 3. Wilson hit by Lewis Morris, and Tez Morris, the safety. Lou Moore leads the Pittsburgh core of linebackers. And
Walt Harris told us that Lewis Moore is as good as any linebacker in America. Plays sideline to sideline.
Now, when Gilliard gets a chance to tackle Quincy Wilson, they get interesting because Tyrone is dating Quincy's sister. Surely that won't matter.
That may be a word.
On second down at 6, K.J. Harris. And the Panthers have him corralled at the 43-yard line. Harris actually with a better yard per gain average than Wilson. He's getting them 5.5 yards per carry. He spent 3 years in the Rangers minor league system. Important for Pittsburgh to show they can handle the West Virginia running attack, because Pitt has given up some record performances on the ground this year. Going deep, Marshall. And just overthrown with a flag now, Chris Henry. Shante Spencer had him one-on-one, and Henry draws the flag.
Take a look at the foot speed now. Chris Henry on Shante Spencer. And he has a burst, and he runs right by Spencer. Spencer's struggling to catch up. And the mistake he makes is, after the push, he gets a piece of the back of the legs, and that's what they called him for. It was a very close call, but he was beaten badly. Ball slightly overthrown, otherwise it might have been a completion. Chris Henry with speed and athletic ability, perhaps the equal of Larry Fitzgerald in the future.
Now that is a mouthful. What
it
you
is.
Just said.
It is. If I hadn't seen it in practice, I wouldn't believe it.
Panthers don't get many flags in the Big East. This one keeps the opening drive going for the Mountaineers in Pittsburgh territory. Wilson with another flag down, unable to get the corner turn at the 41. Lewis Moore on the tackle, may have a holding.
And this is where the lack of discipline hurts your team. Jeremy Sheffy starting in place of Dan Moses. Dan Moses being disciplined for being late to a meeting, and Sheffy gets the takedown in the hole, which is going to back his team up.
Holding against the offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Now, Rich Rodriguez's team, on the other hand, has had some problems with too many penalties this year.
Yeah, almost twice as many. They're penalized 77 yards a game, and in a game like this, you really can't afford it. You really can't afford those little things, and it was the little things that Rich Rodriguez thought probably should have cost him the Boston College game. But they came through because of big plays on special teams.
Their 4th straight win. Panthers also with 4 straight wins coming in. And we'll get back some of that Shante Spencer penalty. Look at 1st and 20 back in their own end. Short toss this time, incomplete. Henry again the target. Sophomore, Belle Chase, Louisiana.
Just a little taste of inexperience there. Chris Henry didn't need to catch that football, but he did. And that's why you heard the immediate whistle.
5 yards on the 1st and 20. Marshall on the roll. Looks up, uncovered is Henry. How does that happen? To the 25 of the Panthers. 23 yards. You think they would never lose sight of number 5, but they did.
We'll check the coverage here and see how this could have happened. It's going to be a sprint to the sideline. Okay, here's what we see. It's a 2 deep. The corner goes with the deep man. You got Henry is hooking up in the flat where the corner should have stayed. Shante Spencer left his responsibility. That's what happened.
Mountaineers, as always, hurry to the line. Try to keep the pace as rapid as possible. And back on the ground, a hold this time, and Wilson shows his fight.
Now, we're not going to be able to show you many replays because West Virginia is at the ball so quickly. But you watch Quincy Wilson. The first man never stops him. He is so powerful. His legs keep churning. His pads are so low, he intimidates tacklers. Look here, whipping through arms, spinning, turning. He's still on his feet, making 4 yards after being hit by Brian Bennett, number 44.
3rd and 10, first down, 8th play, the opening possession of the game. Marshall with his call after he checks the defense, and now for one of the few times up against the play clock. And Wilson up against a strong defensive surge by the Panthers and led again by their leading tackler, Lewis Moore. This is the scene of people still trying to make their way in here. Now, as we said, because of some earlier crowd control issues, they have more than doubled security tonight. And there have been, I'm going to guess, as many as 4,000 or 5,000 people trying to make it in through those end zone turnstiles to our left. Still at least 1,000 stacked up back there. Here comes up the middle to the goal line and in. Miquel Henderson, 18 yards and a touchdown.
Dave Paul Rose, defensive coordinator for Pittsburgh, was worried about getting run over, but that was a skill drive.
A lot of finesse, not that much power needed on the opening possession. The extra point, Brad Cooper, 7-0 West Virginia. Henderson, junior, Mobile, Alabama's 2nd touchdown of the year, overcame a broken leg last spring. He was their leading receiver a year ago. It's given way to Henry somewhat, but he finishes this first possession.
A misdirection screen causing the fast flow linebackers to slip with excellent blocking leads to the first touchdown. We're 7-0 West Virginia here in the early going.
And Pittsburgh stunned after 9 plays. Most of them of that variety. A lot of misdirection, mostly finesse. And they went for a fake to Quincy Wilson. That left nobody to lay a hand on Miquel Henderson on the touchdown. Cooper with the kickoff. And Terrell Allen with an alley. Cooper, the first to touch him near midfield. He's still going, and they'll finally call him out. Back around the 41-yard line, a 53-yard return. And that's how long Mountaineer momentum lasts. As the Panthers get to take their first snap inside West Virginia territory.
There's some serious blocking and collisions going on there. Clint Session, number 17 of Pittsburgh, really nail K.J. Harris, the fine running back, who's also an excellent kick cover, and opened up the big hole for the long return. Nice field position, better than nice field position for the Pittsburgh offense.
And Rod Rutherford leads out one of the top groups in the country. The best offense in the Big East. No gain, Lusaka Polite. And a quick review of Henderson to the West Virginia touchdown.
When we talk about misdirection, we're talking about, okay, there goes Wilson. The leading tackler, Lewis Moore, is slipping as they come back the other way. Great blocking by Garin Justice, number 69, John Pennington, 86. Out in front of that quick screen, misdirection, slip screen for the touchdown.
Second down after no gain by Polite, and Rod Rutherford to the air, and it took him that long, 2 plays, to find Fitzgerald, and he should have the first down. He will, a gain of 11.
Fitzgerald reaches down, picks up Wiley, the linebacker, and helps him up after his first catch. That's the kind of guy we're talking about. I'm not just blowing smoke about his humility. He's an amazingly mature young man to go with his phenomenal athletic ability.
And Rod Rutherford may be the most improved quarterback in America. From about a 30% passer just a couple of years ago to all Big East last year, may very well make it again this year. Jawan Walker with the carry. Down to the 26-yard line. And a chance to check the rest of the Panther starters.
Chris Wilson, number 83, I think, and I'm starting to sound like a broken record, you don't hear about Chris Wilson. He's not highly publicized. Great football player, great speed, great hands, outstanding blocker. You're going to be watching him play about the next 12 years. He's a senior, number 83.
Probably anybody else's team but Larry Fitzgerald, he is the #1 target. Walker to the 23. The Pitt offensive line has a lot of veterans, and Petiti probably the most consistent again this year. All Big East last year. This is his 35th consecutive start. Lecarte, Morgan, 3-year starters. It's a 3-3 stack. That's what West Virginia calls their unusual offensive or defensive alignment. Lenort, Wiley, Jerko, outstanding linebackers, and they will normally have 5 DB. So here's 3rd and 3. Plenty of time to go to the end zone, and a touchdown, and the streak continues for Larry Fitzgerald. His 18th touchdown of the year. His 16th consecutive game with a touchdown catch.
And did you see him spike the ball or wave it in the opponent's face?
He's been there before, and he acts like it.
He gets there every week. He hands it to the official.
Maybe looking at this year's Heisman winner. David Abdul had a terrific freshman year so-so as a sophomore, but he bangs the extra point through. And in 5 plays, Pittsburgh ties it at 7. He is used to the end zone. He lives there. Texas A&M still talking about one of the catches that he made over the shoulder. And we will never forget a catch last year where he took off from the 5. This not quite so acrobatic.
No, there's something wrong with the coverage here. Lance Frazier's playing off. He's expecting help from the free safety, Brian King. There's a miscommunication on the coverage. No way does Lance Frazier play him man-to-man outside in without expecting help inside out from the free safety. So somebody busted that coverage. Either Frazier should have been inside, or King, the free safety, number 11, should have been coming inside out to make that play. And on the sideline, King doesn't look too happy there with his beanie on. I wouldn't either. They got all night to contend with that guy. 2 marvelous drives. And I want to remind you that that field position from the long kickoff return is what put Pittsburgh in business so that they could steal the momentum right back away from West Virginia.
Just 8:35 in the first quarter. Already 7-7. K.J. Harris back. deep. And unlike the opening kick, this one is returnable. And Harris does a nice job dodging white jerseys up to the 32-yard line. And let's check in for the first time tonight with Matt Weiner in the studio.
Taco Bell takes us to Tallahassee, where NC State has a chance to really mess things up in the ACC. 5 seconds left. Xavier Beitia to win it. Blocked. We're going to overtime. Purdue blocked a kick in Columbus to send that game to overtime. Ohio State hit a field goal with their first possession. Ben Jones to tie it. Round number 2. Wide left. Buckeyes escape yet again.
West Virginia, 32-yard line, their second possession. Marshall rolling out of the gun and chased all the way out of bounds, and the West Virginia fans wanting a late hit by Brian Bennett. They're not going to get it.
Here's the touchdown again. We're going to be able to see everybody, and you'll see what happens to the free safety. Chris Wilson, number 83, the tight end, is such a distraction. Here he is. Wilson drew King's attention. King should have been coming back here in the deep middle. Didn't make it. The football did. 6 points.
Rutherford to Fitzgerald. As deadly a combination as there is in college football this year. Those numbers look like misprints. 109 catches during the 16-game streak. And a couple on that possession. And now the Mountaineers bouncing back. And Rayshawn Bolden with his first catch of the season. Redshirt freshman brought down by William Tutu Ferguson, senior corner.
I love the way Tutu got his name. His uncle decided he wanted him to be like Desmond Tutu, and so he named him after the Archbishop from South Africa, who's been such a wonderful leader through the years, Desmond Tutu.
But you asked him a pretty good question, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
3rd and 1. Great play fake. Carried out by Marshall, but the Panthers don't bite, and Thomas Smith especially there for the stop on the run. And so far the run not doing all that much damage against the Pittsburgh defense.
Thomas Smith beat Garen Justice right now. Got into backfield, made an excellent play, and that's what you got to do with Quincy Wilson. You got to hit him before he gets untracked.
Todd James gets off an end-over-end kick on a hot Ferguson at the 34. We have already seen the streak continue with the amazing Larry Fitzgerald. He has tied it 7-7 here middle of the first quarter in the backyard brawl.
We are back in Morgantown, which was the scene of utter chaos a few weeks ago after the Mountaineers' big upset victory over Virginia Tech. Officials have done a lot to try and make sure things don't happen again. Collapsible goalposts just installed this week. They say it can come down within 8 seconds. Security increased. West Virginia State Police, over 80 of them here in attendance. Even the local paper getting into it. This is the school-run paper. Headlines trying to put the fear in the students. You can be expelled, suspended, pepper spray used to even the odds. Even the town's fire department got in the act, picking up burnable material on students' front lawns so the fires don't happen again.
Hopefully, whatever happens, there will just be good-natured, calm celebration. I don't know about calm, but hopefully nothing resembling what happened a few weeks ago, as Rob said, after the Virginia Tech upset.
Well, the best thing I saw was a letter from Grant Wiley and Quincy Wilson, the defensive and offensive leaders of the West Virginia team, asking the students to cooperate with the police. It was in the school paper. It was marvelous.
So here's second down and 3. And Walker for a loss. Ben Lynch, nose tackle.
My lunch buddy.
Oil City, Pennsylvania junior.
I had the privilege of having lunch yesterday with Ben Lynch and Adam Lenort, the middle linebacker, both from Oil City, Pennsylvania. Ben's so enthusiastic. He talked all day about, well, I'm just undersized. I'm only 6'4", 265. But, man, he makes up with quickness what he lacks in bulk.
Loss brings up 3rd and 8. Blitz has Rutherford stepping up. Flag is down, and Rutherford Well short of the first at the 42, but the flag thrown back in the Pitt backfield. And as you would expect, holding Panthers.
Here's the difficulty with the defense employed by West Virginia. And by the way, Ben Lynch is the one that was held by center John Shaw. Number 71, John Shaw, on number 92, Ben Lynch. Ben is so quick and active and constantly moving that he gets dragged down from time to time. Penalties decline so as to get the punt. We won't be able to show you because they got on the field so quickly, but the defense is constantly stemming and stunting. It confuses the offensive linemen.
This is like two fast-breaking basketball teams. They both try to set a rapid-fire pace. Andy Lee, one of the best punters in the country. Lance Frazier. Well, we have seen some big returns already tonight, and Frazier turns in one of 17 yards. And the Mountaineers and the Panthers tied at 7 here in the first quarter in Morgantown.
ESPN2's College Football Saturday, brought to you by Kia Motors. Kia, make every mile count. And by Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down. Make it a Bud Light.
Well, the Mountaineer hopefully will stay uninjured tonight. That has not always been how things have gone for the West Virginia mascot.
What was his problem?
Well, I understand he shot himself in the foot.
That's not funny. I shouldn't have laughed. Well, it is funny. I'm sorry.
It's good they have a backup. Let's go down to Rob Stone.
He didn't shoot himself. The guy had surgery this week, for crying out loud.
Well, that's a different story than we were told. That's better news.
Well, who's giving you your information? You got to come to me, Dave.
Good sources.
I think it was you, Rob.
I'll give you the rundown a little bit later on what really happened.
West Virginia. There's another great play carried out. And this time Marshall keeping across midfield and a gain of 19 yards.
Beautiful job of misdirection and fast flow linebackers. I'm going to say it again and again. Lewis Moore, Brian Bennett and company. When the ball starts to their right, where do you think they're going to go? And here goes Marshall bolting back to their left. They have to change direction, and by the time they get to him, it's first down.
One other West Virginia quarterback rushed for 1,000 career yards. Major Harris, hero of their 88th undefeated team until they met Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl for the national title. Harris from the same high school as Marshall in Pittsburgh. Deep throw. Caught. Chris Henry at the 6 for 47 yards.
Now, David, the next time I tell you that a guy is going to be the next Fitzgerald, don't you doubt me anymore. Chris Henry on Shante Spencer. Look at the big man fly now. Look at him lope like a gazelle, and now hand-eye coordination. In practice Thursday, he did it with one hand, just plucked it out of the air. Now, this is a guy who had to sit out all of last year for academic reasons. Now he's coming back and making himself a major factor.
Just said he was getting some high praise. Didn't doubt you. Definitely don't now. First and goal. Mountaineers from the 6-yard line. And the toss sweep for Wilson. First man misses, but two more are there, and he still gets a couple of yards out of it. Driven out by H.B. Blades, true freshman getting some playing time. Plantation, Florida, where the Blades name means Benny and Brian, and Benny is H.B.'s father, and Brian is H.B.'s uncle. Great names in Miami Hurricanes history. Benny also 10 years with the Lions and the Seahawks. So second down and goal. Smacked again at the line of scrimmage. Groshunus.
This Groshunus, a senior and a stable factor in that defensive line for the last 4 years at Pittsburgh. Just flat picks his man. Dan Moses is thrown on the ground. And even Quincy Wilson not going to break that tackle. Great job by Kroshunas.
Marshall still perfect. 6 of 6. Fitzgerald has extended the record. 16 straight games with a touchdown. Here's 3rd and goal. And Marshall to the end zone and fouled it away. Terrific defensive play. J.J. Horn got in front of the pass intended for tight end Torrey Johnson.
That time the misdirection did not affect Lewis Moore. Lewis Moore playing responsibility right in the quarterback's face, forces the throw behind the receiver, and a nice job too by J.J. Horn coming across to bat the ball away.
Marshall still on the field. And no kicker out there. And surely they're not thinking of going on 4th and goal from the 4.
No, this is just thinking on the sideline and maybe taking the angle and making it a little bit better. Now Pittsburgh can refuse this penalty and make them kick it from inside the 5. They're going to walk it back and try to kick it from the 9.
1st and goal at the 6, and they get only 2 yards on the first couple of snaps. So we'll see what they eventually decide on 4th down. Pittsburgh decides to go for the field goal, and Brad Cooper knocks it in from 21 yards. Or West Virginia now 10-7 on Cooper's 8th field goal of the year. Transfer from Middle Tennessee State.
What confused everybody was they stood there and they were thinking, what are they doing? Well, they were going to try to take the 5-yard penalty to improve the kicker's angle. Pittsburgh refused the penalty.
Well, and they're waving on the crowd.
Yeah.
Come on, fire us up. Finally made the obvious decision, and Cooper gives the Mountaineers back the lead.
This is a tough angle, but for a right-footed kicker to kick it from the left hash where that was is not nearly as difficult as the other side. For whatever reason, there's some little physical reason or reason of perception, right-footed kickers want to pull the one that's on the other hash.
Walt Harris has brought back glory days to Pittsburgh. His 7th year. They have won 22 of their last 28. That's their best stretch since 3 straight 11-win seasons back in the late 70s, early 80s. Something else continues. He's had the best receiver in the Big East 6 out of his 7 years. He has a knack of making sure he has got pass catchers on the field wherever he's been.
Well, he also just got a great job out of his defense because West Virginia down there in the red zone is tough. They score almost 70% of the time touchdowns, but Pittsburgh only gives up a little over 60% touchdowns, and they were able to keep them out.
Fitzgerald only needing 21 yards tonight to get that latest Big East record. And his 2 catches, 1 for a touchdown, 34 yards. So 10-7 Mountaineers. Yeah, West Virginia penalized with a delay of game when it appeared they had called timeout. They called it too late. Pittsburgh, as Bill suggested, declined the penalty. They end up settling for the 3. Terrell Allen returning. 18 yards. Offense back to work. West Virginia said something interesting this week. Their approach to Fitzgerald was, let's concentrate on his distribution. First of all, let's make sure that Rutherford has as hard a time as possible getting the ball to Fitzgerald.
Yeah, let's attack his distributor. Let's get on him. They haven't gotten much pressure on Rutherford yet, though.
Mountaineer corners also said, we got a little something for him. Well, Fitzgerald getting the better of it tonight. And another 1st down. Well, tomorrow night, one of the most anticipated Sunday night matchups in a long time is Bill Parcells returns to New England and faces his former pupil Bill Belichick as the Cowboys visit the Patriots. Sunday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern, and it will again be available in our stunning high-definition ESPN HD. Call your cable operator, DirecTV, or the Dish Network. NFL Primetime presented by Miller at 7:30 Eastern gets it all started.
I got to tell you, those 2 Bills add up to about $1 billion in
Prior
intensity.
to the snap, false start, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
And an update from Matt Weiner.
All right, Dave, you guys getting an up-close look at Larry Fitzgerald. USC has a pretty good receiver of their own. Matt Leinart finds him. Mike Williams, touchdown. Trojans up 14-0 at Arizona. We're into overtime number 2 in Tallahassee. All tied up at 44 apiece. NC State gets the ball first.
Florida State missing its chance to wrap up the ACC by losing the Mountain Bowl last week. So first and 15, Panthers at their 31. Running room, Lusaka Polite, huge fullback, 245-pounder. He had their game-winning touchdown in the final minute against Virginia Tech. 4-year starter out of North Braddock, where the Panthers have gotten a great haul of talent in the Walt Harris era. Tutu Ferguson, Shante Spencer. Also from the same fertile recruiting grounds. On the second down swing pass, Walker met quickly. Looked like he had some room, but it closed pretty fast as Leandre Washington, who wears 52 but is a safety, converted linebacker, 5'11" and 215. Remember, 5 DBs is the normal look for West Virginia.
The thing about this defense for West Virginia that troubles Walt Harris is he said it's like going against a 2-minute drill type defense from the very beginning. They rush with 3 a lot, and they'll have 8 drop back there, and you just have to throw swings all night. So far they've been getting it down the field, but not that time.
Mountaineers coming with a blitz, and again the Panthers have it well protected, and another first down. This is the first catch of the night for Princell Brockenbrough, and it's good for 18 yards.
If you blitz the quarterback, then you better get there. Here they're going to send 6, and they're loaded up. Look here. They got 6 coming in here, and everybody is protected. Nice job of protection by Pittsburgh, and their extremely accurate quarterback, Rutherford. 77% last year is right on the money with the football.
Rutherford going deep on play action. Fitzgerald, another one with the flag, but forget it. You can push him, you can hang all over him, you can crawl inside his jersey, and you can't keep him from catching the ball. 45-yard touchdown.
It doesn't matter how many games we have with Fitzgerald. It doesn't matter who's covering him. It doesn't matter what the defense is. If Rutherford very wisely throws it in his direction, Brian King was in pretty good shape. He didn't have perfect coverage, but pretty good shape. The 3 safety came over. He had to take him going deep. He's a little bit off. He nudges him. He gets the penalty. Doesn't bother Fitzgerald, who has the most incredible kind of concentration. Think of Jerry Rice. Think of Tim Brown, the great receivers you've seen in recent years. He can already do the things that it took them years to learn.
His role model, a guy he watched year after year as a Vikings ball boy, Chris Carter. Abdul to make it 14-10. Well, that's 19 touchdowns on the year. 4 behind Tony Dorsett in his Heisman season. And speaking of Heisman, Rob Stone will talk about Fitzgerald's candidacy when we come back.
Dude approach and let his actions speak for themselves. And I know a lot of our colleagues have got this guy down in his ballot box already.
Another big return. Adam Pac-Man Jones winds his way. 22 yards. Now you got to consider Jason White with a flawless season for a flawless team. Eli Manning for what Ole Miss has been able to do this year. Kevin Jones may be fading a bit as Virginia Tech has faded, and the numbers will demand attention for B.J. Simmons, but he fights the perception that well, anybody in that system is going to get huge numbers, which his coach vehemently argues.
Vehemently?
That's one of the things that will get Mike Leach, the lawyer, on his soapbox. But nonetheless, a better college football player. That one intended for Henderson, and that is only the second incompletion by both quarterbacks combined. They are now 12 of 14. 3 touchdowns, 220 combined. Fitzgerald with 2 of those scores. Henderson with 1 for West Virginia. Marshall now 6 of 8, 114 yards. Rutherford 6 of 6, 108. Wilson and look out. 2-2 Ferguson, the only hope. Wilson tripped up at the 40. An absolute last gasp dive by Ferguson. 36 yards, and Wilson slow getting up.
It looks like he just got the wind knocked out of him. He probably fell on the football. I'm sure he didn't expect for Tutu to reach out and catch his ankle like that. He looked fine. Just got a little winded. Heck of a job of block protection by Tez Morris. But Quincy Wilson still gets the corner. Tutu in a desperation dive because he is definitely gone if Tutu doesn't dive out there and get that. And just to complete that conversation, I said to Tutu, you guys are not supposed to like each other. He said, well, I guess they hate us and we hate them. I said, well, would Bishop Desmond Tutu approve of that sort of hatred? He said, well, I think he would want us to do our very best, wouldn't he?
Oh, what an answer.
Sort of shut me up. Yeah, I guess he would.
Already a diplomat. So Wilson, 8 carry, 50 yards. And not looking like it's anything serious. Marshall rolling and overthrown. Jubal Thomas was the target. Again tomorrow morning and every Sunday morning. Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, Steve Young, Chris Mortensen, Michael Irvin. NFL Countdown presented by Old Spice at 11 a.m. Eastern with reports from every game up to the minute, news and stats. A weekly feature by John Madden. Everything you need to know right up until kickoff each Sunday morning. Marshall, who hit his first 6, has now missed his last 3. And it's K.J. Harris's turn with Wilson catching his breath. Not a whole lot of drop-off from Wilson to Harris.
Well, K.J. is also a powerful back with good speed. Not great speed, but good speed. He may not make quite as many long runs as Quincy will. Now, they're both in the game. And this is tough for the defense. They're the 2 backs in the shotgun.
Marshall directing the deep pattern, wide open, all alone, and broken up. What a recovery by Tez Morris. Torrey Johnson, when Marshall signaled him deep, was 20 yards behind any defender, and the pass hangs up just long enough for Morris to get to it.
When you've got a blown coverage, all you can do is turn and run and hope for the best. Tez Morris does exactly that. And Rasheed Marshall, in an attempt to be so cautious, hung the ball up just a little too much. You need to lay it out, let your man run under it. And he tried to just hang it up because it looked so wide open.
Fans boo the replay. Obviously not a penalty. And here is a rugby-like quick kick effort out of the shotgun by Marshall, and does it ever work? It's going to roll dead inside the 5. But you know what Rasheed is still thinking about is what might have been. He'll never have anybody more open than Torrey Johnson just was.
Torrey Johnson somehow got loose in the coverage. Number 44, tight end. He's being waved deep. You see him coming down the middle. He is so far behind the coverage. I can't even tell what the coverage was supposed to be. Tez Morris, a desperation run, 2 desperation plays by Tutu Ferguson and then by Tez Morris have kept the Mountaineers out of the end zone on that drive.
He was so open, he ran clear out of the picture for a minute. But the Panthers now backed up at their own 4-yard line. And they'll try to gouge out some breathing room, but Tim Murphy with his first carry may not even get back to the line of scrimmage. Ben Lynch and a fired-up West Virginia defensive front there on what may end up the last snap of the first quarter.
Well, we were curious about what Walt Harris's approach would be to this West Virginia defense. We don't have to wonder anymore. He's just loosening up that arm of Rutherford and wearing him out. He's giving him fits in the secondary. Being cautious down here in the shadow of his goal line.
Unlike early in the week, virtually no wind tonight. Murphy again fighting just to get back to the line on what is the last play of the first quarter. Well, we saw 222 combined passing yards. We saw 4 catches, 2 touchdowns, 90 yards for Larry Fitzgerald. 8 carries, 50 yards for Quincy Wilson. Fireworks. What else would you expect in the backyard brawl? The band plays Sheryl Crow's Soak Up the Sun. Could not be a more inappropriate selection at the moment. It was just lightly drizzling in the first quarter. It's starting to come down, but it's not supposed to last tonight on a chilly night. Drop it down into the 30s. Second quarter begins with a near interception by the Pac-Man, Adam Jones.
Pac-Man Jones from College Park, Georgia. We share that, Pac-Man and I. Very confident young man who believes in himself completely, with a chance to turn this game back in his team's direction. The first really errant throw, and it goes right through his hands. Intended receiver was Brockenbrough, number 8.
Had one 49-yard return against Boston College last week. That one an easy 6 if he hangs on. And not much of a punt by Andy Lee standards at all. Let's get an update now from Matt Weiner.
Dave, it's over in Tallahassee. Overtime number 2. NC State failed to get a first down, so Florida State gets it back, and Leon Washington gets him a win. 12-yard ACC champs yet again, 50-44.
Took them a while, but the Seminoles finally do bounce back from the loss at Clemson last week. Lee, just a 33-yard punt. Even with the rain and the chill, spirits unaffected here at Mountaineer Field. And despite pretty healthy edge in yardage, West Virginia trailing 14-10. Flag is down on this carry, and Quincy Wilson back in the game after missing just a couple of snaps. Ozzie Beam makes the tackle and another holding call as Shecker Kane tracked through 1 quarter. Marshall hit his first 6. This one to an untouched Mequel Henderson. That ended the first drive. Didn't take long for Rutherford to Fitzgerald to strike back, and he has 2, in fact. That one as he was being interfered with, as if he even notices that time. Rutherford 6 of 7, 108 yards, and those 2 touchdowns. No one has really yet found an answer trying to break up that connection. As confident as the Mountaineers were yesterday, they haven't either. Here's a deep ball for Henry. Lay plays that one perfectly.
Yep, and that showed inexperience of Henry. He's only been starting for the last 3 or 4 games. Instead of coming back and fighting for the ball, he just continues to run. He assumes that it's going to reach it. The ball's going to get over Lay's reach and that he's going to catch it. He's sort of estimating here instead of going up and fighting for the ball at its highest point.
Quick snap, rolling left this time. And Henderson reaching the 40 of the Panthers. Mountaineers trying to dig out of the hole after the holding call.
This is the second drive that has been harmed by a penalty. And again, that's been a problem for West Virginia, averaging about 77 yards a game in penalties, whereas Pittsburgh leads the Big East with least penalties, only 40 yards, and that's a huge differential.
So third, and they still need 13 after the short punt by Lee. Marshall hit as he gets rid of that one, and it's overthrown for Henderson. Thomas Smith coming with the pressure for the Panthers. So the Mountaineers unable to do anything with superb field position early in the second quarter. A packed Mountaineer field, 96th edition of the Backyard Brawl. Pittsburgh comes in number 16, undefeated, the only unbeaten in the Big East. And this short directional punt will be marked out somewhere around the 10, I think. Well, not quite the 10.
Guy just keeps walking.
16.
It's impossible to tell from up here. It looks like the thing's inside the 5 so often, and many times it ends up way out near the 20.
Todd James thought he had a little better angle than that. 14-10 Panthers. Well, not everybody could make it to a seat. 63,500, and there will be quite a few more than that. And our eventual attendance number tonight, Mountaineer Field. Panthers backed up to their 16 and not had much in the way of field position very much tonight, but they continue to lead. And Rutherford continues to find open receivers. Brockenbrough drops a sure touchdown. That is 84 yards, untouched.
Brian King has been the real catalyst and the glue for this secondary for West Virginia. Number 11, the free safety. He's not having his best night tonight. Here he is in hot pursuit, but he's well behind the wide open Princell Brockenbrough, who simply short-armed the football. Who knows what goes through a young player's mind? Actually, this guy's a senior. He looked like a young player on that
running
play.
out of chances.
You got to make that catch. You've got to make that catch.
Mountaineers coming with extra pressure. That's had no effect at all on Rutherford. All day to bounce around, finally keeps and runs through 2 tacklers. He's going to be close to a first down. Rod Rutherford, one of the most powerful running quarterbacks we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, and we've bragged so much on Fitzgerald. We've left Rod Rutherford out of the equation. How do you think Fitzgerald gets all these throws? Rutherford has uncanny accuracy. He's 61.4% on the year. Last week he was 77% for the game. The guy throws the football so beautifully.
Not to mention he's a load when you have him coming right at you like this.
Yeah, he's a good runner. Breaking tackles.
So 3rd and 1. 2 tight ends. And somebody flinches.
Yep. One of those things that you just can't handle.
False start. Offense.
But here's what's happened in the last 3 plays. A drop ball for a sure touchdown. Now movement by Chris Wilson and Rob Petiti, tackle and tight end respectively, to turn a 3rd and 1 into a 3rd and 6. And this is how you lose football games. This is how you lose momentum. Walt Harris knows it very well. Both these teams have wasted field position and have hurt themselves with penalties. Normally, the least penalized team in the Big East, 40.7 yards per game. Already 25 tonight.
Keep an eye on the top of your screen. That's Fitzgerald. 3rd and 1 is turned into 3rd and 6. Going the other way this time, and hanging on is Brockenbrough to the 35-yard line, a gain of 15 yards.
Yep, that was man-free coverage, and Brockenbrough is on Adams Jones. Adams Jones, Pac-Man, who slipped and fell. I've seen when this turf starts to get wet.
Is it taint, like Darrell Royal used to say, artificial turf? Yes, it's taint wet and taint dry.
Yeah, it's just got that little residual on it. I hadn't heard that. Taint wet, taint dry, but it is slick. And if you don't keep your feet right under you, you will slip and fall. That's what happened to Pac-Man.
So the Panthers overcome the penalty. And there's a flea flicker. Fitzgerald, the target, double covered, tripped up, and way overthrown. And no flag.
Now, there's something you can do to him. Trip
Double
him up.
cover and trip him.
I hope he'll fall down. Brian King, Lance Frazier running with him on the brackets coverage, in and out. And they are going to completely double teaming him now. And they've got a variety of ways to do that. On the flea flicker, nobody was fooled. Both players in perfect position to keep him from even getting past them. What they did is perfectly legal. And Larry proves that he is human. He tripped and fell.
But it's refreshing to see a receiver who's knocked down who doesn't automatically bounce up and scream for a flag.
Yeah.
They wanted to jam him more than they think most defenses have tried to do. I haven't really noticed them doing that so much.
Yeah, they might have changed their mind.
Because if you jam him, you're just inviting him to blow past you. Might as well try it all. Not much has worked yet. Panthers with 2 Fitzgerald touchdowns, leading 14-10. These two have played every year since 1943. They've split the last 6. And home field has not been all that much. The visitors have taken 11 of the last 16, including Walt Harris losing at Heinz Field last year, 24-17. And Pitt winning 23-17 here 2 years ago. Rutherford. That one low for Brockenbrough. They send it back to Matt Weiner.
Well, Dave, LSU is sort of on deck in this whole BCS picture. And in Alabama tonight, Matt Mock to his playmaker, Michael Clayton, 23 yards, leans over for the touch. Bayou Bengals up early in Bama. Meanwhile, Tech and Texas, Vince Young to Sloan Thomas, juggling catch. He got it, 21-6 Horns in the second.
2 interesting series. Tech and Texas generally always protect the home field. Just the opposite, LSU, Alabama. That's the way this series has gone lately. Rutherford 3rd and 10. Incomplete, as for the first time tonight, he goes for the great tight end Chris Wilson, as this right off his fingertips.
This time the blitz worked. They did get there. Scott Jerko, number 33, a former walk-on linebacker, coming from the inside. Here's Scott. He's gonna nail Rutherford just as he throws the football and cause the throw to come off high. Rutherford a little bit late delivering that one. Andy Lee not having a very good night punting so far.
33-yarder last time. This one low, end over end, very returnable. And the Pac-Man now showing why he has that nickname. Had to have been born a good 20 years or so into the history of the Pac-Man machine, but aptly named, runs about 40 yards for a 12-yard net return. Much.
He said his mom named him that because he ate all the time when he was a baby.
I bet he jittered around quite a bit. West Virginia with a scrambling Marshall out of one tackle, then brought down by Vince Prosciunas, the senior nose tackle. Kind of settled into a exchange of punts after the early offensive flurry.
Andy Lee must be disappointed with his performance so far tonight. The leading punter in the Big East, the leading special teams player a year ago, 44.8 yards, average normal. Not tonight.
Not much blocking on the left side, and K.J. Harris gets slung down at the 42 by H.B. Blades. Monday Night Countdown presented by UPS, providing comprehensive analysis, interviews, highlights, up to the minute NFL news, live reports from the side of ABC's Monday Night Football game. All the news from the best in the business begins at 7:30 Eastern and leads up to Monday Night Football. An electrifying matchup this week. Terrell Owens of the 49ers, Hines Ward and the Steelers, 2 of the best receivers in the NFL. Live on ABC at 9 Eastern. On 3rd and 5, Marshall on target to Henry, and a first down at the 49-yard line, right in front of Josh Lay. Game started with the Mountaineers marching down the field with the opening kickoff and getting a touchdown from Mequel Henderson, but Fitzgerald has come back with 2 more touchdowns and continues to add now to his new season Big East record for yardage. 16 straight games with at least 1 touchdown catch. Quincy Wilson showing a sense of timing, and here comes a late flag. Blades in on another stop. Right in front of the West Virginia bench where they grab their imaginary face masks.
There is no penalty on the play. The player was grabbed by the shoulder, not by the face mask.
H.B. Blades, a true freshman, getting an increasing amount of playing time as the season goes on, and a great shot there at the correct non-call.
Yep, that's how it looked to me, and that's what it was, and the officials wisely flagged it off.
Wilson gets 6, 2nd and 4. Wilson maybe couple through the middle this time. Watch for that play later as they fake the end around to D. Alston. Claude Harriet, who's still getting to the quarterback this year despite a nagging injury. His senior year, maybe not quite as productive as his junior year. First team All Big East, led the conference with 9.5 sacks. Still makes his presence felt though. Here's 3rd and 1. Mountaineers line up in the I this time, and Wilson breaks a tackle inside the 15. They finally have him at the 5. 37 yards.
The first man never tackles Quincy Wilson unless he's hit in the backfield. Number 7, Corey Humphreys, has a clear shot at him here, but you just can't tackle this guy. Look at his shoulder pads. He just bombs people with those pads. Bang, and he's down the field accelerating. What a beautiful back to watch.
Shante Spencer, Malcolm Purcell prevent the touchdown. Mo Fofana, the fullback, clearing the space for Wilson. Rodriguez says one of the most unselfish players he has ever coached. Senior fullback, unsung, but made that play go. And Wilson now to 96 yards on just 11 carries. 1st and goal from the 5. Again breaking tackles for the touchdown. And we're settling into what we hoped we would see and expected we would see. Fitzgerald versus Wilson. And Quincy shaking off a mild injury, coming back to go over 100 yards with 9:21 still to go in the half. More importantly, to give the Mountaineers the lead back. Cooper's extra point at 17-14. Nothing new for Quincy. 2 key moments earlier. Number 1 would be against Miami. Still ranked in the top 3 at this point. Wilson, maybe the best run anybody will have this year.
Play of the year.
Hurricanes, however, come back and they get the game-winning field goal, 22-20. 2 weeks later, Mountaineers over number 3 Virginia Tech, the highest-ranked opponent West Virginia has ever defeated. And that has keyed the 4-game winning streak, and Wilson sticking close to Mo Fofana. Usually makes good things happen. There's a delay with an injury on the field as we look one more time at the touchdown.
Here's the touchdown. Deceiving speed. He's the kind of guy, he's built low to the ground. Missed tackle by H.B. Blades there, because you see this block moving at you and you don't think he's moving very fast, but he is smoking. He is a great back, and what a joy to be with. Don't know who that is down.
Lineman, but unable to get the 2nd number. And Quincy Wilson, put it mildly, on a roll. 6th leading career rusher here at West Virginia. Otis is proud. Otis Wilson, former Bear.
Ooh, Otis is a real man. What
That's
a
his
football
dad, and
player.
that is Dan Moses.
Moses is 76. Gosh, he was still upright when Quincy left him and left him in the backside of the picture. Somebody must have fallen on his leg. That's the only thing I can figure there. They seem to be indicating that his right knee is hurt. They were telling him to use his left knee. Keep the weight off the right.
Moses really looked forward to this matchup. He's a redshirt freshman from Washington, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area. Wanted to play for the Panthers. They thought it was too small. And so he looked forward to this opportunity to show them what they missed. He's up to 290 now. After a year spent redshirting, building himself up, and not even limping now as he heads off.
Well, obviously he got hurt on the extra point. That wasn't very smart on my part. There's been a play since that replay we just watched. Somebody fell on him in the extra point, but he's walking. He seems fine now. That's all right. I'll wake up. Won't be long. She's ready. She's ready for this game to get on. Her team's back ahead.
Rain has passed through, hopefully not to return. Allen returns this one, and another big one. Coughed it up at the end, and they're going to say he was down before. It was recovered by Corey Humphreys, a 49-yard return. You got to hold your breath on every kick return, every punt return tonight. Not to mention whenever Larry Fitzgerald's on the field.
Yeah, veteran coach Bill Stewart handles special teams for West Virginia. He'll have some work to do on his punt kickoff coverage at the half.
Touchdown number 1. What does he do? Hands it right to the nearest official. Now, he even has to chase down this ball. He's got to get away from a cameraman to get that ball over to the official. It is that much of an ingrained habit. Rutherford faking short and going deep. Double coverage flag. Still comes up with the ball.
Lest you think we were turning this guy into Superman and he's really not that good. That's the kind of play he makes every week. And when Dave said at the top of this game, you're going to see some catches that you've never seen before, this is what he's talking about. He's judging where the players are, where the football is, and there are 3 fine athletes there, Pac-Man Jones and Brian King. All 3 of them go up for the football. And just as surely as Bill Russell used to come down with a rebound, this guy comes down with the football.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
A human being does not make that catch.
What if you were Brian King and Adam Jones? Do you think you'd feel even more ridiculous? That you can't even bat the ball out of his hand?
How strong his hands are. The impact with the turf, as hard as it was, doesn't knock it loose. To the end zone. Talking about a hit, Chris Wilson takes one, and he hangs on. 17-yard touchdown for the senior tight end.
Chris Wilson, one of the best tight ends I have ever seen in college football. He has outstanding speed. He's a marvelous blocker. Right now, he's trying to catch his wind because Pac-Man Jones caught him right in the sternum, but he hung on to the football. I think he'll be fine. Wow, what a football game.
It's just, can you top this? And right now, the Panther receivers challenging one another. So after Fitzgerald's latest highlight play, Wilson.
To the left side of your screen, there's Chris Wilson, number 83, the big tight end. All right, there's the catch. Here comes Pac-Man. There's going to be a big collision. Chris Wilson's just concerned with putting the football away. He ends up in the end zone for the touchdown, and he's walking off under his own steam.
There are fewer and fewer of the Chris Wilson type tight ends in football. So when you have one like him, you really have a gem.
Yeah, Walt Harris knows that he's down there hugging on him too, and Chris is smiling. He just loves to play. He's back for his senior year. I'm sure he could have gone out last year.
David Abdul with the extra point. Mountaineers' latest lead doesn't last long. 21-17. Third touchdown pass of the night for Rutherford. Wilson shaking it off. Doesn't matter how many times we watch that, we'll never believe it. But it was true. Have to see this one full speed to appreciate again the impact of the turf and how impossible it was for Fitzgerald to hang on to this thing, let alone the contact and the double coverage. What does he do? Every single time he makes the catch, he looks for the nearest official.
He couldn't even get the official's attention to catch the ball. The guy's waving, you know, the ball is down here. But he's thinking to himself is, good grief, I've never seen a catch like that in my life. Can't even get the official's attention. But he's so focused on simply giving the ball to the official and getting ready for the next play. And that's one reason he's a great player.
And it's hard to find anybody who has anything but the same level of comment about him off the field. Everybody that has ever had any contact with the kid just raves about it. So unaffected by all the attention. Pac-Man doing it again. Spencer chases him out with a flag. Return of 50. The second most entertaining battle tonight is the battle of the return men.
Pac-Man asking for a face mask on Shante Spencer, who ran him out of bounds there, number 19 for Pittsburgh. Not very good kickoff coverage by either team tonight. Or maybe we should give credit to the return units and say that the blocking's pretty good. And Pac-Man got his wish.
Walt Harris saying that was on us, and you know what? Walt Harris has a case.
Well, neither one of them should have been called. Should have been no call. They both way to deal with him. You got to hit him in the backfield before he gets untracked. Ozzie Beam coming off the corner, nobody to account for him. And the reason there was nobody is because Marshall could not get his Z, the wide receiver, to come in motion. He pumped his leg 3 times. Whoever was in at wide receiver was supposed to come in motion and block that edge player and did not get it done.
So the Mountaineers with their first time out. Speaking of the Mountaineer, the mascot of the Mountaineers, Rob, have we cleared up the story about going to the backup mascot?
Yeah, I got you here. There was no QB controversy. Rather, it was mascot mayhem in Morgantown. His starting Mountaineer, Trey Heinrichs, he had an emergency appendectomy this week, and they weren't sure if he could carry on with his duties, so quickly backup Derek Fincham, with no big-time game experience, was thrust into first-team practice. But the doctors told Heinrichs before the surgery, hey, because you're in such good health, you will probably be able to go tonight if the surgery goes well, and he is. He's wearing the raccoon on the noggin. He's got his musket ready to go. The only thing he can't do today, can't do those push-ups when they score those points. I know he's upset about that.
Well, he's got the look down.
Well, ask him if he can far that forearm he's got down there.
I'm not sure that would be that good an idea. I mean, considering the height and security and all,
I guess.
I'm betting the thing's not even loaded. Just his presence is enough. 2nd and 10, 2 timeouts. Still remaining for West Virginia. 34 the Panthers. Marshall floating one for Henry and can't quite get to it.
And the reason he couldn't get to it is because his protection broke down terribly. Jake Holthouse, number 93, was clean in the backfield, just popped it through the A-gap, meaning between the guard and center. And Jeremy Hines and Dan Moses, the center and left guard, simply didn't get it done. Pass is thrown out of bounds. Chris Henry never had a chance to catch it. Got to keep those quarterbacks clean.
Panther defense coming in was less impressive than West Virginia's, but they had a lot more luck getting to Marshall than the Mountaineers had getting to Rod Rutherford. So 3rd and 10. They come with a blitz. Marshall knocked out by Ferguson at the 28.
Good job of blocking by number 83, McQuell Henderson, there on Tez Morris. This is one of the things that's frightening about Marshall. If you're going to pressure him and you're in man coverage, if he pops it on that blitz and somebody like Tez Morris does not make the play, then he's going to go down the sideline in the end zone.
This will be timeout number 2 for West Virginia. So if you're Pitt and you're thinking we'll go for it on 4th down, you just toss it in Larry Fitzgerald's direction. West Virginia does not have that luxury, and they have 4 yards to go. They could try a Brad Cooper 45-yarder, but his longest this year is 43. And you'd expect him to go for it here, down 7.
I think with Rich Rodriguez's offense, I think you run the ball here, or you have some sort of Rich Rodriguez play. Now, here's the previous play. They're coming with the blitz. They're in man coverage, and if he pops this, if the free safety can't get to him, as he does right here, and hold him to just a 7-yard gain, he's gone. And that's the risk in blitzing a guy like Marshall.
What about the freeze play?
Well, they tried the freeze play early in the game. The freeze is designed with a hard snap count, hoping that the defensive line will jump. If they do jump, the center will snap the ball, and the offensive line will simply sit in place, and you walk off the penalty against the defense. They tried it a couple of times early. Pitt didn't bite. They may try it here again. If they don't jump, then you go ahead and call the play and execute it.
And you get a freebie.
You get a freebie if they do jump. Let's see if they try it.
Mountaineers go 4 wide, 1 back, Marshall shotgun.
They did not.
And with the pump and the deep ball, it is caught! John Pennington with the 28-yard touchdown. Everybody looks like Larry Fitzgerald tonight.
And Malcolm Postell, it's a mismatch. That's what Rich Rodriguez does so beautifully. John Pennington, a wide receiver, got on the strong linebacker, number 6, Malcolm Postell, and you get a perfect throw because the pressure didn't get there. A wide receiver on a linebacker, and a fantastic throw and catch. Wow.
Cooper to tie it with the PAT. John Pennington, a junior who has, with that catch now, a total of 5 all year. And that's his first touchdown, but that's as good as anything we've seen from Larry Fitzgerald tonight. He might be the 8th weapon you would be worried about if you're the Pitt defense.
Here they come with a blitz. They're bringing 6, but nobody gets close. The rapidly improving Rasheed Marshall, when I say improving, I'm talking about his accuracy, lays the football in there absolutely perfectly. It's either going to be caught for a touchdown or it's not going to be caught by anybody. What a nice job. And Dave, that weapon was far, because I heard it.
Hope it was a blank.
So did Ken Trevor, our spotter. And he spelled rifle, R-I-F-E-L. He's a Georgia Tech graduate. He's trying to spell musket now. He got that right.
Well, everybody Marshall and Rutherford have tossed it to tonight has been a weapon. Even little notice, John Pennington. And he was not listed among the top 7 wide receivers coming into tonight's game for West Virginia.
You know,
time to reload.
We said it was a mismatch with Postell, but Postell had good coverage on him. He was right with him and he made Marshall make a perfect throw.
From here in Charleston, what a thrill that is. He ties it with 31 seconds to go in the half. Or from here in West Virginia, I should say. Charleston, downstate. Low bouncing kick, return from the 4. Allen, for the first time tonight, runs into good kick coverage.
He also dropped the ball, and West Virginia has it. I think they're going to call him down. Abraham Jones on the hit.
And 2 flags down there to sort out as well.
Good ball. Personal foul. Good to go.
That's our first personal foul penalty, something that you always watch for in an emotional rivalry like this one. Hopefully our last. Obviously no fumble, obviously a good call.
Well, they call that a personal foul, but whoever made the hit thought that the guy had picked the fumble up. He was trying to tackle him. Even that personal foul wasn't intentional. This has been a good, clean, hard-fought football game. The hope in the community is that's the way it'll stay with the fans and everybody. Players are setting a good example. They're going to run this clock out.
Well, could you ask for much more?
I don't know who's booing. I don't know if you could ask for anything more. You said it best, Dave.
580 total yards, 48 points. Oh, a dozen or so highlight plays. Somebody that's ready to go to New Orleans or Honolulu or wherever West Virginia may end up. That would be something new.
Both coaches would love, seriously, both coaches would love to see some defense. Walt Harris told Rob Stone going off the field at the half, we need to run the ball. He's right. They've only got 30 yards rushing. Quincy Wilson, 116 yards rushing already tonight, 109 yards rushing on 16 carries, and that could carry the day for West Virginia as the game progresses, unless Pittsburgh can match it.
We've had 9 plays combined for over 20 yards. Those coaches defined as big plays. Good coverage a little better last couple times against Terrell Allen, 13 yards this time. Game track through the first half. We just showed you the highlights, but some of them bear another look. That was Fitzgerald's first touchdown. Over 100 for the 13th time. Wilson over 100 on the ground, 109. That was his touchdown. And the Panthers, who have trailed by 7 and led by 7, start from the 21-yard line. And we'll start with the lines pointing at each other and flags on either end.
Prior to the snap, offside, defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Rob Stone, what'd you find out at halftime?
Yeah, I just got done speaking with Rich Rodriguez. He said, man, penalties are killing us and our defense has to make a play. And I said, what about Larry Fitzgerald? He said, listen, when that ball is in the air, our guys got to be aggressive and go after it. We can't just watch it. I said, Coach, any wrinkles we might be able to expect in the second half? He said, the only thing to look for maybe when we start throwing it more on first down.
Well, they've almost never been stopped running on a 300-yard pace on the ground. They'll be nice and loosened up. Rutherford, another on-target toss. And look how hard it is to wrestle Chris Wilson down. In fact, they never do it.
No, and I actually saw him a year ago, Dave. This is when he came to our attention. He catches a ball against Notre Dame, and he outruns the corner for Notre Dame. I think it was Duff. The guy's a 4'4" guy. This guy's 250 pounds. He can fly. He's a great blocker. He's got great hands. Look at this. You just can't find a better tight end anywhere. That's Scott Jerko and Mike Lorello, 2 linebackers, dragging him down, or trying to.
6 defenders get a shot at it.
Still on his feet.
And 18 yards, and he's not giving up or getting down for anybody. First down, 44-yard line. This is Jawan Walker, very quiet first half. Sophomore from Erie, Pennsylvania, their leading rusher, near 400 yards coming in.
Walt Harris did say what I just quoted him as saying a moment ago. We got to get our running game going, but you pointed out, Dave, they haven't had any trouble solving the rush 3, drop 8 or rush 6, drop 5 combinations of West Virginia throwing the football. They may just wind up and throw it every play.
Only run for 31 now. They're just 10 yards out of Walker. Rutherford play action. Another strike for Fitzgerald. Tiptoes up the line, gets an extra 5 yards out of it. He's to the Mountaineer 42.
And that was a 4-man rush. It looked like quarters coverage, so they're dropping 4, and they got 3 underneath. And no problem. You throw the out cut. Not once have I seen the corners, either Frazier or Jones, get up and try to play physically with Larry Fitzgerald. That was supposed to be part of the plan. Have not seen it. I guess they're just afraid to try it.
Yeah,
I think maybe I would be too.
13 more yards on the 7th catch. If he stopped right now, he would have a pretty typical day, but we're just underway in the second half. Rutherford plenty of room if he runs. Instead, he throws it, and he has him again. And he's inside the 5.
Now, what this does to a football team, there's Lance Frazier and Brian King back there making the plays. Double coverage again. They got brackets, front and back. Not good enough because the throw is perfect. And again, you got to take your hat off to Rutherford because there's a little hitch and go. The ball is perfectly thrown. That ball had to be right where it was thrown. Otherwise, it's not a completion. You got 2 DBs converging on the ball. And this begins to totally demoralize a defense.
37 more yards. And on 1st and goal, Polite is to the 3.
Larry Fitzgerald is so dominant during a 16-game touchdown streak, 113 receptions, almost 2,000 yards, 28 touchdowns. He demoralizes the opposition because it does not seem to matter what you do to him.
That is the only defense for him.
What, take him out?
Get him out. Get the extra tight end in. Then you have a prayer at least. And whistles as this play gets started.
So you're suggesting that the only guy on this field that can stop him
offense 5-yard
is
penalty.
Walt Harris.
Still second
Is that
round.
right?
Evidently, as so many people said about Michael Jordan, only Dean Smith could hold him under 30.
Yeah, well.
But even Larry Fitzgerald needs to rest every once in a while. And then mix it in with the occasional multi-tight end set. As it turns out, he missed nothing.
But what happens is now Pittsburgh really hurts themselves by a motion penalty, taking it back to 8. But now they got to play against Fitzgerald again. We know what this play is going to be. And there it is.
Fade. Double coverage, a little bit overthrown. Lance Frazier with maybe the best coverage anybody has had all night.
Yep. They had him covered. Of course, they've had him covered before, but Rutherford just missed that one. He threw that one too far. Another shot of the sportsmanship of Larry Fitzgerald after this play. Doesn't go his way. Look what he's going to do. He's going to try to help Frazier up, and they both fall down.
The right idea. 3rd and goal from the 8-yard line. And to the back of the end zone, they hang on to an interception. Grant Wiley, the senior linebacker.
Like you said, Dave, everybody's getting into the hands act. In the first half, the West Virginia defense had the hands of a clock. This time, Grant Wiley, the leading tackler, gets up in the air, makes it good gracious. That's a Fitzgerald catch.
Get him on offense.
No, I don't think so.
Only people that couldn't handle catches in the first half were the defenders.
What a great job of coming down with it. Too many people dropping, not enough space in the end zone, and the defensive strategy works.
And we remain tied at 24. Wilson will lose a couple. Vince Krochunas with the first contact. Wiley, the leading tackler, the all-time West Virginia leader in tackles behind the line of scrimmage.
Got 116 tackles on the season coming into this game. Unofficially tonight, we got him down for only 2. I imagine that's a little short on him, but real big play right there.
And they give Wilson the line of scrimmage. So no gain, 2nd and 10. This connection between Marshall and Chris Henry.
Shante Spencer on the coverage there. He jumped that out. He had nobody behind him, no safety to help him. I assure you that Rich Rodriguez and his coaches noticed, and we'll see a little out and up at some point on Shante.
Marshall, remember, from Pittsburgh. Spencer, the other corner, Ferguson, Lusaka Polite, all from Woodland Hills High School in the Pittsburgh area. This is such a series of familiarity. Guys in the backyard brawl sometimes played in each other's backyards. And Mequel Henderson unable to shake Lewis Moore. Had a terrific game.
Yes, and that's what Walt Harris says when. That's what he means when he says this guy plays sideline to sideline. You got a fleet wide receiver coming across the field. He's going to run for a first down. No way. Lewis Moore chases him down.
One of the very few times the series does not even produce 1 yard and a flag on this very low short kick. James getting a good bounce out of it though, and gets 43 yards out of it, but we'll check the flag back at the line of scrimmage. And the Mountaineers signal for motion. Punt rolled out at the 36, so they may want James try another one.
Motion against the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
Both teams really struggling in the punt game tonight for whatever reason. Andy Lee, the fine Pittsburgh punter, has not had a good night. There was pressure that time. Another mistake, another penalty for West Virginia, which is their wont to get into this kind of situation and hurt themselves. They won't, but they don't want to. It is their wont, but they don't want to. You got that right.
Too customary this year. A better looking kick. Right about where the last one went out of bounds. Ferguson, he gets about 3-4 extra yards maybe out of this return. Let's send it down to Rob.
Dave, we saw Larry Fitzgerald doing that quick catch and then hand off to the official with the ball. Well, West Virginia does the same thing. In fact, they work on it during practices. You know, they go with that up-tempo offense, and the key to that is getting the ball to the official so you can make a quick spot, and boom, you can get your offense going. So what they do during practice, they have student managers put on the old zebra shirt, the black and white, and the players are instructed, last one who touches the ball hands it off to the official. This Monday during practice, they put officials in each end zone. The guys who didn't do it had to run the 100-yard sprints and hand the balls to them.
Both these coaches are really good at emphasizing that. Jawan Walker needing a block, breaks a tackle. There's a marker down as he gets to the 44-yard line of the Mountaineers. As we wait for this call, Bill, that proves, unlike what so many people think, that it is not necessarily automatic that you have to have a show put on by a guy who just made a 5-yard catch.
Well, guess what?
Holding.
Larry Fitzgerald is called for holding.
10-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
Larry Fitzgerald actually made a mistake, folks. Like I said, he is human. And he got a little cloth there, and he got called for the holding. Well, not only, when we talk about humility being harnessed power, as I said at the beginning here, I really mean that. The more humble you are, the more you can focus on what you're supposed to do, and that's how you become a great player, not by celebrating a 5-yard gain or taunting your opponent or acting like a fool after you make a play.
1st and 17. Rutherford, 2 more flags down, and Wilson becoming more and more a factor. After a quiet first quarter and a half or so. This one goes for 12 yards.
Yeah, some serious holding, a big World Wrestling title takedown by number 75, Matt Morgan, on Ernest Hunter, number 99. Ernest is another of my lunch mates. I sat next to Ernest yesterday. And
How
got
much
to know
lunch
him.
did you eat yesterday?
I ate a lot, but not as much as Ernest.
Gets the offense. 10-yard penalty from the previous 5. Still 1st down.
And he said, I'm very calm all the time. I said, wait a minute now, Ernest. Tell me you're calm on the football field. He said, well, now when the ball is snapped, I'm not calm. That's when I get after it. I like that contact. Right now he's mad. He got taken down when he had a chance to make a sack, and he's not happy. Another really impressive young man.
This time 2 flags before everybody even gets to the line of scrimmage.
That's a participation problem with Pittsburgh.
Gets the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
Too many guys out there. When you send somebody in, whether you huddle or not, somebody's got to run off within 3 seconds.
And the least penalized team in the Big East is almost double their average already.
You get an emotional game and you're accustomed to not committing these fouls, you don't realize how it kills your field position. 1st down and 32.
Pitt with 32 seniors, including 14 fifth-year seniors, so you would expect them to know how to avoid flags. Shovel pass, Walker, 36, bounces off a hit, gets a couple more yards. Finally corralled by Brian King. 14 hard-fought yards for Jawan Walker. Panthers have been without Brandon Myree for 2/3 of the season now. And the Mountaineer hurt way back downfield. About 30 yards from this play ended. Brandon Myree, we thought we might see. We haven't so far. He's been out 6 games. This would be his 7th with a calf injury. And this is Pat Liebig, true freshman defensive end, getting looked at by the Mountaineer staff with 9:39 in the 3rd quarter. Here's Brandon Myree, top rusher for Pittsburgh until the calf injury. Got very limited workouts. Used a little bit in practice this week. Not used yet tonight. And now 2nd down, 18 for the Panthers in their 37.
That shovel got him almost half the distance of that 1st and 32.
Protection for Rutherford has been terrific all night. A low pass. Usaka Polite did not make the grab before it hit the turf. One of the few misfires by Rutherford, who's already got a 300-yard passing night. That is his 5th straight. That's Luke Getsy, the sophomore backup, with the signals.
They've hurried Rutherford 3 or 4 times tonight. That's about it, Dave.
Maybe.
And there have been many times when they were just rushing with 3, and they were counting on the 8 drop people to fill up all the zones.
Mountaineers loading up. Come with a bunch. Lay a hand on him. Lenore did, and an interception. Lawrence Audina.
And they came with 5. Lenore got the pressure and forced a rare error by Rod Rutherford, who simply threw it into coverage. Excellent job by Lawrence Audina to come up with the interception. Not only did he look exactly where he intended to throw all the way through the play, but he simply did not see double coverage. And this time King can celebrate with his buddy instead of having to pick himself up off the ground after another sensational catch by Fitzgerald.
17 picks in 7 straight games with at least 1 for the Mountaineer defense. More great field position. They started their own 49. And this time they run the reverse. Milo Austin doesn't get anything. Everybody's staying at home. Brian Bennett for the Panthers.
Brian Bennett had backside contain responsibility. That's his 5th tackle unofficially. Nice job of seeing the misdirection and running it down.
Bennett sat out all last year. And these guys, it always seems to be in the right place at the right time, no matter what the play may be designed to do to fool a defender like him. Right there again, no gain. 2nd down and 10, and Marshall with the play fake with the screen set up. Henderson had a steam. Henderson is inside the 25-yard line. That's more like what we saw continuously in the first half. Mequel Henderson, 28 yards.
That's the first time we've seen that play since the touchdown in the first drive, and another nice block by Garen Justice, number 69, the right tackle, who steps down and then bursts to the sideline and kicks out to free John Pennington down the sideline.
It took a little while to get jump-started. Now they got it going. Wilson dragged down by 1 man. A real rare sight. Tez Morris, the safety in this case.
Yeah, and Quincy Wilson is sick about that. He can't believe one guy got him on the ground. Now he got caught from behind with an ankle tackle, a desperation by Tutu, and he gets dragged down by Tez. So Tez and Tutu, the safeties and corners respectively, saving these touchdowns.
Another long night in terms of run defense or lack thereof for the Pitt defense. A continuing sore spot for them this year. 2nd down and 2. And again, Morris comes in for the initial hit on Wilson. Not before 1st down at the 12-yard line. This Pitt defense has given up 2 school record rushing performances this year. Julius Jones got 262 for Notre Dame. Kevin Jones got 241 for Virginia Tech. and he scored all 4 Virginia Tech touchdowns. They allowed Notre Dame to run out the final 9 minutes of that game. They could never stop him.
What we're seeing here is a reversion to form. West Virginia just pounding the ball.
Quarterback draw. Marshall, 2 good blocks and all the way to the end zone untouched.
And what a great job by the big guy, Mike Watson, who had to leave the game earlier. Back in there and sustained a block forever on Malcolm Postel, number 6. A misdirection, and this time it did work on the swift linebackers for Pitt. Misdirection, boom, right back over here. Now a great job by Ryan Thomas, number 81, and watch 75 on Postel. Big Mike Watson. Mike's feeling much better with his sprained left side.
Well, there is also a personal foul on Pitt after the touchdown. That's our second personal foul penalty tonight on the Panthers. West Virginia with another chance to go on top by 7. They got their first score of the first half on the catch and run by Mequel Henderson. His 28-yard catch and run, a big part of this scoring drive, and they again lead by 7. And Rasheed Marshall, who reminds a lot of folks around here of Major Harris from the same high school in Pittsburgh, gets this trend in play for the Mountaineers. 6:53 of the third, 31-24. Watching the winner of that Heisman Trophy here tonight. Rod Rutherford has hit him 8 times for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Speaking, of course, of Larry Fitzgerald. In the headlines lately, with more speculation that his father, Larry Sr., may file for early entry into the NFL. And Rob momentarily will get a chance to speak with Larry Sr. as the personal foul after the touchdown is marked off. And Cooper sails that one about 10 yards beyond the end line, and we've got more flags.
Yep, it'll be a block below the waist against Pittsburgh. Just an absolutely unnecessary block inside the 5-yard line with the ball well out of the back of the end zone.
Well, Harris simply not accustomed to this many flags. Already 10 for 86, more than twice what they average. Let's go right now to Rob, who is with Larry Fitzgerald Sr.
Yeah, Dave, he has to be called Senior now. It used to just be Larry Fitzgerald, and now his son has come up, and you got to refer to him as Senior. And Dave, you hit on it, and you know, if your son has the chance to go to the NFL, will you advise for him to go after the season?
Well, I'll support his decision, and I just hope that if he chooses to do that, that there is an exception to every rule. And I understand there's a rule that could be a problem, but Larry hasn't indicated to me that he's going to do anything different than continue to play college football.
He had that extra year of high school, if you will, in the post-grad year. Is that going to make an effect into the decision and maybe how the NCAA and the NFL might fight it or not fight it?
Well, I don't anticipate a fight. I don't think fighting is good for anybody. I just hope that calmer heads will see what's best, because there are exceptions to every rule.
Your son has been blessed by some fantastic NFL opportunities courtesy of you. You're a sports editor with a Minneapolis paper. Your son was a ball boy with the Minnesota Vikings. He has a great relationship with Randy Moss, and in particular Chris Carter. Tell us about that.
Well, it's been not just those two. They have been tremendous, especially Chris Carter, but the entire Viking family and the Minnesota sports community. They have been very supportive of Larry in all endeavors, and that's really benefited him.
Larry, we appreciate your time. Let me throw one last question at you, if you don't mind. There's been a lot of talk, and people say, hey, these kids are too young to play in the NFL, you know, and Maurice Clarett. Is your son ready? Should the NFL, should he be there in a couple months?
Well, it's up to Larry. I think if Larry decides and tells me, Dad, I think I'm ready and I want to go, then I'll let him know what I think, and we'll get into talking about that when the season's over. But right now, you know, they want to try and win this game against West Virginia down here in the backyard brawl.
And guys, Larry's down here covering his son for the paper. He's the sports editor. He's off tomorrow morning to Oakland to cover the Vikings.
That's right. They got to stop the losing streak. They're still leading the division, but they got to get this one.
Larry, you're a busy man. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very informative, and Rod Rutherford keeps and should have a first down after the dropped interception, the second of the night by Adam Lenore. So Larry Sr., a prominent journalist, talk show host in Minneapolis. And Larry Jr., this is what's interesting about this will he or will he not go early issue, is Larry Jr.'s comments all seem to leave it up to Larry Sr. Well, it's kind of my dad is talking about maybe we'll challenge and claim that I had been out of high school long enough. He graduated after his year at prep school, and so that would presumably be the NFL stance. That's when his clock started. That was just 2 years ago, not 3. Maybe they will claim he's actually been out of the original high school he attended enough, 3 years, but they kind of put it off on each other. Larry Jr. says, my dad's kind of pursuing that. Larry Sr. just said, well, it's up to Larry.
The first thing I notice is you can certainly understand why Larry Jr. has the kind of demeanor and the kind of dignity that he does. That's the way he was trained by his father and his late mother that he misses so much. You also see that there's a very rational, a very calm approach to this whole thing and not a big ego trip.
Juwan Walker, a much bigger part of the Panthers' plan here in the second half, but he's tracked down here by the inside linebacker, Scott Jerko.
Scott Jerko showing really good inside-out speed. And Jerko, I mentioned earlier, is a former walk-on. And while we had the Fitzgerald interview, the West Virginia defense came out with a lot more intensity. They're getting pressure on Rutherford. Rutherford was able to scramble for a first down on 3rd and 10. Now they got 3rd and 11 again.
Rutherford has it batted down. Jason Hardy, the defensive end, the cousin of Earl Campbell. He's got to have a little something. From San Mateo, California, bats that one down.
Got to have some hops, hasn't he?
Got to have
those legs, man.
A lot of stuff if you're in Earl Campbell's bloodline. And they'll punt on 4th and 12. Much more like an Andy Lee punt here. This one hangs. Has a good angle on it. But Lance Frazier breaks another big one. Maybe all the way. Frazier inside the 10, and they finally get it at the 3. Andy Lee, after a 47-yard punt, with the tackle after a 72-yard return by Lance Frazier.
For the first time today, we see a real Andy Lee punt, 47 yards, hung up. The coverage has been excellent all year because net punt for this team is 41.1, which is among the nation's leaders. This time, Lance Frazier pops it. Excellent blocking, escorted down the field, and finally that piano fell on his back, and he got tackled at the 3.
They thought he'd been close to breaking one all year, and it's finally happened, and it's 1st and goal at the 3. Quincy Wilson is corralled by J.J. Horn at around the 1-yard line. What's really odd about the great return work we've seen, really by both teams tonight, is that West Virginia, the last 3 seasons, had one punt return of over 20 yards. Combined, all 3 seasons.
Well, they got another one now. Yep, got some cramping down there, but that's worth the cramp, Lance.
1-yard line, 2nd and goal. For the eye and 2 tight ends, and Quincy Wilson stretches and gets the touchdown.
Quincy Wilson never gets tackled by the first tackler. Mo Fofana, big 46, will show you when we come back after the break how the big man blocks. Tough combination.
First time either team is led by more than 7 tonight. And with a Cooper extra point, West Virginia by 14. Pretty tough to keep up with the Larry Fitzgerald show tonight, but Quincy Wilson's coming pretty close. Well, we mentioned that Quincy Wilson has pretty good bloodlines. Otis, the former Bear linebacker, his dad, and there's Kyle, the proud mom, and she came prepared tonight, didn't she? I think she sensed he might have a little something in store for us.
He always does. He's going to make big plays.
West Virginia trying the low bouncers now, trying to control Terrell Allen, and he almost gets loose. He gets near the 40-yard line on a 35-yard return.
Generally poor kick coverage and punt coverage by both these teams all night long. And I should give credit to the units. A nice wedge blocking scheme by Pittsburgh on the kickoff returns, and nice blocking on the punt return just a moment ago by Lance Frazier.
Now the Panthers down 14. They've led by 7. First time there's been more than a 7-point lead either way. West Virginia dominating the third quarter after 24-24. Halftime tie. Rutherford option. And loose ball. Live ball. Did the Mountaineers get it before it went out of bounds? No. Still Panther ball.
Here's what happens when you run just a little option. You don't see much option, and I don't know if this speaks to a sense of desperation on the part of Pittsburgh. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't know if you want to execute something that you don't run very much. A big mistake by Rod Rutherford. He's way off the line of scrimmage. That is not the way to run the option. The pitch is late. Lance Frazier is not blocked, and he blows it up. And they almost turn the ball over.
Was touched by an out-of-bounds player from West Virginia. Therefore, the ball was out of bounds. West Virginia with the ball. It will be white ball.
The rule says if an out-of-bounds player touches the ball from the offensive unit, then the ball is considered out of bounds.
Well, Jack Kramer's had a long night. Referee catching his breath. Kevin McLee has a shot at recovering this thing, but there is the contact out of bounds, and the reason it's still Pittsburgh ball.
Those are tough calls. Those are tough calls.
So the option goes from -7. Second down 17, Rutherford. Play fake, and the underneath pass for Polite gets him back near the original line of scrimmage, and the tackle there by Grant Wiley. Polite with a game-winning touchdown. Final minute against Virginia Tech. Great team leaders they've enjoyed all 4 years of his career in the starting lineup out of North Braddock, Pennsylvania. So 3rd and 10, and the Panthers really needing something besides a 3-and-out. Trailing by 14 under 3.5 minutes in the third. Rutherford for the first time tonight can't get away from pressure. Wiley and Adina, who both have interceptions tonight, combined for the sack.
It's taken them almost 3 quarters, the better part of 3 quarters, but they have begun to crack the Pittsburgh offensive line. Talking about the West Virginia defense, they're getting pressure, regular pressure on Rutherford each of the last 2 series.
First sack by either defense. Lee again, terrific hang time, and this time fair caught by Adam Pac-Man Jones, 38-yard kick. Fair catches have got to come as a great source of relief to these beleaguered coverage units tonight. '96 meeting of the Backyard Brawl. Series led by the Panthers 58-34. There were 3 ties every year since 1943 they've gotten together. And Rod Rutherford picked off twice here in the second half after 3 touchdowns, 2 to Larry Fitzgerald in the first half. West Virginia with only 55 total yards this quarter, but 2 touchdowns. One of the touchdown drives went only 3 yards after the 72-yard Lance Frazier punt return. Thomas Smith this tackle. Forget the Sunday Night Football matchup, one of the best of the year, no doubt, with Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick getting together. It's been hard to get Parcells and Belichick to talk about each other this week. Find that a little odd?
They're only interested in one thing. They're interested in winning the football game. They don't care about anything else in life. I promise you, those guys can coach.
They have so much history. Natural question. They batted them all down. Marshall forced to scramble. And rather than continue in the face of Lewis Moore, he just stops in his tracks.
Now here's the touchdown that we promised you. We'll get back to the last touchdown by West Virginia. And if I'm Rich Rodriguez, you're going to see a lot of this. Boom. Big Mo Fofana right there stands up the linebacker. That's all Quincy Wilson needs. Brian Bennett still comes off and makes the play, but not until Quincy drags him in the end zone. And all night, I don't want any of these 3rd and 20s like they got right here. I'm going to come back to that running game.
They ought to give Mo a touch. Don't you think? He's a senior.
Absolutely.
Hand him the ball once. Quarterback draw. Marshall.
He almost broke that. Were it not for Lewis Moore, the ever-present Lewis Moore, and what a football player. Unofficially, we got him for 7 tackles. It looks like he feels like he's made 15.
Really does.
He just, as we say around here in the mountains, everywhere. Fellows, everywhere.
So Todd James, senior from New Eagle, Pennsylvania, on a kick. Panther defense comes up with a stop. Tutu Ferguson had some room, but he fair catches it to 38. An update from Matt Weiner.
All right, Dave, LSU on the road at Alabama, and all Tigers so far. Watch Ali Broussard. It's the Ali B show. He's dragging the entire Tide defense into the end zone. Tigers up 24-0, that one in the 3rd. USC having absolutely no trouble in the desert tonight. 45-0, that one in the 4th. Matt Leinart, 4 touchdown passes already.
The home team cannot win in Alabama LSU.
It is the strangest thing. I was a part of it for 3 years, and it held true to form even there.
Rutherford with a give to Walker, who will again lose yardage, unable to get the corner turn. And -3. One trend for West Virginia after a slow start, a 1-4 start. Expect the Rich Rodriguez offense to get it in gear, and they have, and they're clicking at 35+ points per game in November. Is there anybody in current college football more influential than Rich Rodriguez?
I don't think so. In terms of offensive thinking and his innovations, he has really come up, especially with the spread offense in running the football, which is what he needs to do when he gets it back. Walt Harris needs to throw the football.
Good protection for Rutherford, and that catch is made inbounds by Greg Lee. He's got a couple tonight. Right, Rich Rodriguez came up with this system, which is so imitated now. 4 wide receivers, shotgun, usually 1 running back, out of really desperation. He started at some low levels of coaching, Salem, Glenville State, before becoming Tommy Bowden's offensive coordinator at Tulane and Clemson. He says the first thing he was worried about, without a tight end, without a fullback on his roster, was how can we ever make a first
down? Yeah, forget winning a game.
So that was the genesis of this system. 3rd down, and Rutherford pressured into a throwaway.
And for you to use that word, Rutherford pressured, that's the 3rd series in a row here late in the 3rd quarter. Finally, West Virginia has gotten pressure on Rod Rutherford, and it has drastically affected his accuracy.
Scott Jerko, the latest down on the turf. Junior from here in Morgantown, which also produced Rich Rodriguez. Began as a walk-on here at West Virginia. Defensive back under Don Nealon.
Well, the story about the Glenville thing is really fascinating, because he said, I got my team in there and a bunch of little old guys, and I said, man, our goal is going to be to win the conference. And of course, they had lost 20 in a row. He said, I went out after about a half hour of practice and I called them back together and I said, we need to change our objectives. Let's see if we can win one game this year.
And then it was scaled down to how are we going to make a first down? And what is fascinating about that is, you would think he sits in his ivory tower and devises this great system. No, anything but. And Bill Walsh says the same thing about the West Coast offense.
Yeah.
He took over the Cincinnati Bengals without very much talent, and he worried, how are we ever going to make a first down? And he came up with the short passing game, and now, what, well over half the NFL runs it.
And then it got moved to the West Coast, didn't it? And Rich Rodriguez gives credit to his little quarterback at Glenville one day. He said, you know what, Coach, that backside guy, I think I can read him. And there we got the reverse read play that everybody in America is running. Oklahoma, Texas, Northwestern, they got it from Rich Rodriguez.
Andy Lee starting to get both the hang time and the direction that you would expect from the Big East top punter. Unreturnable, that's important. Haven't stopped many returns. Sunday morning, Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, Steve Young, Chris Mortensen, Michael Irvin. NFL Countdown presented by Old Spice at 11 a.m. Eastern. Here from John Madden, you get all your news leading up to kickoff every Sunday morning. Mountaineers start from their 19. Final play of the third quarter, barring the flag. Third quarter, they have owned. Marshall firing it. And gets 9 yards out of it to Mequel Henderson. And the Mountaineers will start the fourth quarter.
Watch the West Virginia players sprint from one end of the field to the other. They're required by their coaches to do that. It demoralizes the opposition, especially as you head into the fourth quarter. And the guys say, what are these crazy guys doing? Nothing makes them tired.
Mountaineers get the only points of quarter number 3.
Welcome back to Morgantown, where the Mountaineers on the verge of yet another big home victory. We saw what happened the last time they had this a couple weeks ago versus Virginia Tech. Huge melee on campus and in the streets of Morgantown. Again, we want to reiterate, a lot of changes have been made. Collapsible goalposts installed. Huge increase in security, and you can really sense some guys flexing their muscles and keeping their eyes out a little bit more than usual as we start this fourth quarter.
And we started with a first down run by Quincy Wilson. There is a way to go, and there is some work still to be done by the Mountaineers, but they get pretty firm control of things with the 2 touchdowns and the shutdown work by their defense in the third quarter.
Well, I've been involved in a lot of big rivalries, and there are so much emotion occurs on the field, and I have to really commend these 2 teams for the way they've handled themselves.
This would rank up there with any in terms of animosity. Tez Morse hanging on for dear life on another game near first down yardage by Quincy Wilson.
Well, we've given a lot of credit to Quincy Wilson and to his counterpart, Larry Fitzgerald, the great wide receiver on the other team of Pittsburgh, for being good leaders. But both these squads have acquitted themselves with the right kind of class. They've gotten after each other, but there hadn't been a lot of pushing and shoving, no jive stuff. The coaches don't put up with it anyhow.
135 yards now for Wilson and counting. And a first down to the 43. Let's check our game track now through 3 quarters. What a first half. A little different in the second half. Rutherford picked twice, one by Wiley, the other by Audina. Wilson ran this one down to the 5. He's got 2 scoring runs. He will be somewhere way over 30 carries, it would appear. And Rich Rodriguez tries to keep him below 30, but he used to say the same thing about Avon Coburn. Look up, he had 35, 36, 38 carries. Wilson obviously not wearing down. In fact, he's doing the wearing down. As we expected, this is one of the largest crowds in the history of Mountaineer Field. In fact, it's the 5th largest. That is about 4,000 over capacity, 67,715.
Well, the players hope, and in fact, I've already mentioned a letter from Grant Wiley and Quincy Wilson to the fans. The players hope that the fans will celebrate, if they do manage to win, will celebrate in a fashion that's commensurate with the way they've handled themselves on the field.
Where we've seen the collapsible goalposts, I think they were introduced in Iowa, they've had a good effect because there's no target down there for the fans to go after. Wilson to the 40, 12 more yards, gaining more energy with every carry as he gets to 27 carries now and over 150 yards.
Like I said a while back, if I'm Rich Rodriguez, I'm going to keep handling it this guy. Tyrone Gilliard just gets trampled there. Brian Bennett dragging him down, hanging on for dear life. Just a great back at work.
And
there was the freeze, Dave.
Rush improvement that Pittsburgh hoped for out of his defense. We have not seen it. Wilson again. And update from Matt Weiner.
Dave, Texas Tech making things very interesting in Austin. B.J. Simmons leads the drive, hands off to Torian Henderson, takes care of the last 4 yards. Extra point was blocked, so it's a 1-point Longhorn lead.
Closer than most people would expect. Texas has destroyed everybody since Oklahoma. Tech offense showing up in Austin. That doesn't always happen. Second down and 7. We'll do 3rd and 2. What is that? At least 4 straight carries by Wilson. 4 in a row. And for the night now, 29 carries, 162 yards. Pepper spray came into play after that Virginia Tech game. Hopefully not tonight. So 3rd and 3. Will they go anywhere but number 3? They got Tofana in there to clear the way. And Wilson with his 5th straight carry out of 2 tackles to the 27-yard line.
And Tutu couldn't come down with him that time. Just hate to have to try to tackle this guy face up or in the open field. Number 3, Quincy Wilson, just splattering people. Corey Humphreys taking the shot that time, running away from linebackers into the end zone and over linebackers and into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown. Brian Bennett taking the shot that time from Mo Fofala and from Wilson,
who finally gets a breather. And K.J. Harrison.
Like I said, I'd be handing to these guys a lot if I were Rich. And it doesn't take a very smart guy to figure that out.
Harris unable to be sure of what the call was, so he creeped up, tried to get the word from Rasheed Marshall, but it'll cost the Mountaineers a timeout. But they continue to march and look ready to add to a 2-touchdown lead early in the 4th quarter. (38-24) West Virginia. West Virginia has been a real imbalanced offensive team most of this year. 16th in the country in running, only 108th in passing. Not tonight. They're almost perfectly balanced. K.J. Harris getting the corner turn, getting to the 20, a couple of yards shy of the 1st down. It'll be 2nd down and 2. They continue to wear down this Panther defense. 10 plays on this drive. Quincy Wilson has carried 8 of the 10 for 44 yards. And Harris getting involved as Wilson catches his breath over on the bench.
Well, that was really sophisticated running by K.J. Harris. as he comes out on the toss sweep. Look how patient he is. He's not running fast. He's letting his blocking form, plants, and then explodes up the field. Nice job of running. 2nd and 2.
231 rushing, 216 passing. Near perfect balance for the Mountaineer offense tonight. Harris, caught from behind this time by Ozzie Beam. And you just sense a weakening of the will in the Panther defense.
Well, we talked about how demoralizing it is when Larry Fitzgerald just keeps going up making catch after catch. And by the way, that has not happened in the second half. 2 catches for 50 yards total in the second half for Fitzgerald. What's more demoralizing is a running game that just keeps ramming the ball down your throat, knocking you back, and eating up the clock.
Another 3rd and short, a little less than 1.
Good time for play action here.
2 tight ends, only 1 wide, and they go toss sweep. And right at the first down marker, Wilson, and did he fumble it and lose it? He did. And Tez Morris was there for the Panthers. So just as it seems West Virginia is ready maybe to finish this thing off, the Panther defense rips it away from Quincy Wilson.
The one thing that you cannot afford when you got it going your way is to be careless with the football. That ball was not riveted to his chest. It's hard to believe that he would allow J.J. Horn, number 21, to get that hand in there and rip that ball out. As careful as Quincy Wilson has been with the football since weeks and weeks ago when he fumbled twice against Wisconsin, this time he let it happen again. And
they just gave up the best defense, maybe the only defense against Larry Fitzgerald, keeping him on the bench. He's back out there now. Rutherford sent Fitzgerald deep, and he cleared out some room. And Chris Wilson wrestled out of bounds at the 23.
The plan to contain Larry Fitzgerald were to, number 1, hurry Rutherford. We got him for 4 hurries in the second half. I think there are probably more than that. Fitzgerald thrown to only 4 times in the second half. The times he's been double teamed, just about the equivalent of the first half, 14 times double time. We're keeping a trend chart on all these methods of stopping Fitzgerald.
Ball play and nothing doing for Jawan Walker.
The 3-3 stack of West Virginia is just too much for the running game of Pittsburgh. Grant Wiley, the leading tackler, is coming off with what it looks like maybe a little burner of the shoulder or a shot to the leg, something on his right side, but I doubt he'll be out very long.
Well, Pat Liebig is out for the game, the true freshman defensive end for West Virginia. It's 3rd and 5. Rutherford, as he rolls, looks for one man, zeroed into another interception. And Lance Frazier dives for the end zone. I don't think he quite got to the pylon. He's had a 72-yard punt return to set up a 3-yard touchdown drive, a 29-yard return of his 4th interception of the year, down to the 1.
Method number 1, pressure on Rutherford, has shown that he is vulnerable. When he's pressured, forced out of the pocket, he's not at his best. Throwing on the run, Adam Lenort giving him the pressure. First half, he's standing in the pocket. Touchdown to Fitzgerald. Second half, pressure, rushers in his face, throw it up for grabs. A different football player with blue jerseys in his face.
And another short field, to say the least, for West Virginia, thanks to Lance Frazier. From the 1, Wilson is undercut by Shante Spencer, and he doesn't get in.
Now, Wilson's the most grateful guy in this stadium that his buddy Lance plucked that football and got it back for him. And I guarantee you he'll be squeezing it this time.
Well, if we can see from up here, Rutherford zero in on one guy, in that case Fitzgerald.
Hey, all they're doing is trying to find
much easier for the Mountaineer defenders, and they've burned him for 3 picks now. And Another try, and this time in.
J.J. Horn just took it on the chin, but there's no disgrace in being run over by Quincy Wilson. Good gracious alive, what a football player.
And what a night. 33 carries, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Virtually every team has a weakness. If your weakness is that you can't stop the run, that's an Achilles heel that's almost impossible to cover up.
Cooper, they may have it out of reach. At 21, the lead. Remember, we were tied at the half at 24-all. In the second half, it's been a lot more Quincy Wilson than it has been Larry Fitzgerald. And they are already celebrating in Morgantown. In the second half, the relentless West Virginia running game and the defensive adjustments they've made on Rod Rutherford, who in the first half was 12 of 19, 3 touchdowns, 220 yards. In the second half, 8 of 17, 3 interceptions. And thus, Wilson outshining Fitzgerald. Ferguson knocked down after just a 12-yard return. At stake tonight, first place in the Big East, because Pittsburgh came in the only unbeaten. Miami lurking at 4-1. And the oddity here, should West Virginia go ahead to win, is they still have to go to Syracuse, and they have Temple here, but they're going to eventually be rooting for the Panthers November 29th to knock off Miami, because, as we showed you earlier, Miami edged the Mountaineers 22-20. We will need the Hurricanes somewhere along the way to get a second conference loss should West Virginia win out. Nowhere for Rutherford to throw, and so he will keep, and he gets popped not quite back to the line of scrimmage. Tomorrow night's terrific Sunday night matchup has Bill Parcells and Terry Glenn returning to New England as the Cowboys visit the Patriots. 8:30 Eastern, ESPN HD in high definition. NFL primetime starts it off, presented by Miller at 7:30 Eastern. Bill Parcells has already won at his 2 previous coaching spots. He won at the Giants, he won at the Jets. Can he finish off a hat trick? Latest injury is to defensive end Ernest Hunter, sophomore from Burke, Virginia.
I'm going to tell you again, you try to get either one of those guys, Bill or Bill, to talk about anything other than this football game, you are wasting your breath, and you might get busted in the mouth.
Terry Glenn will talk about it on the other hand.
Terry's a different matter. He's got his own deal going. He's been revived. He's had the Parcells rejuvenation treatment. He can play for Parcells, and Parcells believes in Terry, and that's a heartwarming thing to see in the NFL.
Well, great years in New England, and has absolutely nothing good to say about any of the folks he left behind back there. Well, luckily tonight, most of the injured players have hopped up, and they haven't even limped off, and the latest is Ernest Hunter. Our colleague Mike Patrick will call Sunday Night Football, and he and Ernest Hunter share that they are from Burke, Virginia. Ernest hopefully back in there shortly, because they've already lost his backup, Pat Liebig, for the night. Rutherford back to the line, so second down and 10. And the throw over the middle for very short yardage this time. Just the 3rd catch this half by Fitzgerald.
Now, Walt Harris is dangerous in this situation. He's one of the truly brilliant passing coaches in America. He's done it on the college level. He's done it in the NFL. He's got a system. He's not very happy right now, but you just can't relax for an instant, because before you know it, Pittsburgh can be back in this game. They're rushing with 3 or 4 on most downs here and playing zone behind it. 3 deep or 2 deep.
They have him, second sack of the night. Kevin McLeod.
Rod Rutherford, after a brilliant career and a brilliant senior year, is rattled and confused by this West Virginia defense. In the first half, he was standing back there throwing on rhythm with assurance. This time, he's holding the ball even when he has protection, cannot find the open man, and taking the sack.
McLee, who came just across the border from Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Redshirt freshman with the snap. And the punt from the goal line. They turn into another big return. They have Frazier at the 36. 13 on the return. McLee congratulated after his sack. Just the second managed against Rutherford all night. And they are preparing for the celebration in Morgantown. Well, as we said, they're preparing for the celebration and hoping that it is only a celebration. So even the benches are being cleared. And I hope in good fun that gentleman coming with the mask, just in case anything resembling what happened after the Virginia Tech game here a couple of weeks ago occurs in a few minutes. Off running, clear again. There he goes. Quincy Wilson, 36 yards, his 4th touchdown, and he's over 200.
Well, it was about this time that Dandy Don used to sing, "Turn out the lights, the party's over." Well, we're not going to turn out the lights. The party is not over.
Yeah, it
but
is.
The players have, well, the game is over, but the players have asked that the celebration and the party be in accord with the way this game has been played.
What a second half by the Mountaineers. What a second half by that senior from Weirton, West Virginia, by way of Chicago, through the bloodlines of the great Chicago Bears of the mid-'80s. Over 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. What a night for a career night.
Yeah, just as surely as Larry Fitzgerald's dad did a good job raising him, you got to think Otis Wilson and Quincy's mom did a great job of raising this young man. He's interested in his team, celebrating with his fans, and on the other sideline, dejection. A physical manhandling in the second half by the West Virginia Mountaineers. Rick Trickett, the fine offensive line coach down there, celebrating. His O-line has just grown up more and more. 3 freshmen in the game a lot, 2 of them starting. With a sophomore, they struggle early in the year.
I'm sorry, baby. I need to do it now. Look at that man.
He's still apologizing for fumbling. And apologizing for running for a touchdown. He's afraid somebody's going to accuse him of running it up, since that's stylish in our country today. I guess Stoops won't have to deal with that this time, Dave.
Well, it wouldn't look as if he would. And since the first Rutherford interception, the Pittsburgh offense has disappeared, to say nothing of the special teams, and Ferguson gets nothing out of that. So Quincy Wilson with his career night, and since they got the first pick of Rutherford, 22 plays for a total of 2 yards by this Pittsburgh offense that was unstoppable in the first half. How'd they do that?
Yeah, Coach Castile, the defensive coordinator for West Virginia, had a plan with his 3-3 stack. He believed in it, and they stuck with it. They got more pressure in the second half, and that was the key to Rutherford. He knew that. That was the first thing he told us. Get pressure on Rutherford, and we think we can get him rattled, and that's what happened.
Jeff Castile. Coaching heroes tonight. And they have harassed Rutherford into 3 sacks to go with the 3 interceptions, all here in the second half. Adam Lenord, who has had his hands on 2 potential interceptions, with a loss of 12.
Adam Lenord, quarterback pressure leader tonight several times, with a lot of help from his friends. There was Ben Lynch on that one, number 92. Kevin McLeay making that hit. Everybody has gotten in on the act here in the second half. And Rutherford feeling the heat. Tough for a QB back there when he's on that iron.
Early time to get that one off, and incomplete, intended for Polite. An update from Matt Weiner.
Dave, Texas Tech is trying to protect an upset at Texas. They went for it on 4th and 5 from the 27, got the first down, and Torian Henderson got him the touchdown. It's 40-35, but the Longhorns are driving.
Well, what Tech is trying to do there is maybe keep Texas out of a BCS bowl. Texas likely for the Fiesta, even maybe a shot at the Rose if they win out. Obviously, in grave jeopardy now. 3rd and 22. One of their last 11 third down tries have worked for the Panthers. They'll get it here. Greg Lee with a lot more. And knocked down to the 46-yard line.
When I said Pittsburgh and Walt Harris were dangerous a touchdown ago, I meant that, thinking that we would see a lot of that kind of thing. When you do the two-deep zone thing, there are big gaping holes in the middle of the field. Tight ends can exploit it.
This is what we did not want to see. There are some fans over there probably doing too kind a turn to them to call them fans. They're throwing stuff at the state troopers.
Well, the real fans who celebrate football do nothing like that ever. The people who want to create havoc are going to do it no matter whether it's football or somewhere else.
Rutherford for Fitzgerald. He's overthrown him a few times in the second half.
Sick people who throw things on the field, and I've been hit by some of them, and it's not unique with this situation. Those are not people who deserve to be in the stadium. And what's happening here at West Virginia is they're being documented. People are taking pictures, and they're paying the price. Cameras are flashing right now. It's too bad. Really, really sad.
Second and 10. Lenore picked up this time blitzing, and Rutherford with all day still cannot connect with Fitzgerald. Well, to get you ready for the NFL schedule, culminating tomorrow night with the Cowboys at the Patriots, Sunday Night Football. Sunday NFL Countdown, presented by Old Spice at 11 a.m. Eastern. They will have plenty to cover. Cowboys Patriots Monday night. The Steelers and the 49ers matchup, and everything else there is to talk about in the NFL. West Virginia authorities more than doubled the normal security, hoping that the show of force would keep people in the stands, off the field, away from the havoc that was caused by an earlier big win. We hope that's the case. There are some not very pleasant signs going on here right at the moment. Princell Brockenbrough, the catch, and gets 26 yards out of it. Under 4.5 minutes. Pittsburgh had won 4 straight, as had West Virginia coming in. They were at 7-2 with a bullet on the rise. Second straight year they had started 4-0 in conference play. Rutherford way over Walker. Back for an update again, Matt Weiner.
Hi, Dave. We told you about Texas Tech taking the lead in Austin. It took Chance Mock about 10 seconds to get him back. B.J. Johnson on the other end of that touchdown pass. Horns back up by 1.
Interesting that Chance Mock led that drive.
Yeah, but they left too much time on the clock.
They might
still
have.
46 seconds. It's too much with Texas Tech on the football field.
Mock more the passer, Vince Young more of the runner, and Mock maybe keeps the Texas streak going. Pittsburgh just trying to get something on the board in the second half. They've been whitewashed 28-0 after a 24-all tie at the half. That one broken up out of the hands of Brockenbrough by Adam Pac-Man Jones.
One of the criteria that inevitably gets in the minds of the voters for the Heisman is how well the team plays. this loss, I think, is going to make a big dent in Larry Fitzgerald's
Do you really?
Heisman campaign. Well, I know it. I know it will.
Even
facts of life.
With these numbers, 9 catches, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yep. It's just sometimes it's a subliminal thing, but the team has to be an outstanding team. No more do you win the Heisman with a losing team. Paul Hornung did it back in '56. That's the last time.
Well, this is not going to be a losing team.
Yeah, but in the perception, if you come down the stretch and do not win in your big rivalries, then somebody who does win, somebody like Jason White, is probably going to get it. I'm just talking about reality. It's not fair, but that's how the voting tends to go.
So 2 games at Temple, home against Miami. And then the Bull, Rutherford, again harassed into an incompletion intended for Polite. Well, anybody who has seen him in action tonight, and even if they only see 3 or 4 of his catches tonight, will have to come to the conclusion that you haven't seen anybody more spectacular in college football, more unstoppable. And that's to say nothing against Jason White, who's the best player on the best team, and usually that's enough for the Heisman.
Yep. That's just the way the voting tends to go. Whoever gets it out of that top group, whether it's Larry or Jason or Eli Manning, maybe a couple of others that that could come out of the blue and do it like Carson Palmer did it last year, any of those guys would be deserving.
Going for it on 4th and 10. Juggling catch, Polite, and he's got the first down and still on his feet, and it's 1st and goal, Panthers. And 23 yards on the catch and run as we go under 4 minutes. Introduced at Iowa earlier this year, the collapsible goalpost, and I would predict that this will be standard equipment everywhere in college football very soon.
Yeah, the kids think, gee, it's okay. Everybody does it. We can all run out and tear down the goalpost. No consequences. Well, kids have been paralyzed. Spines have been crushed this year by falling goalposts. It is not an innocent, fun thing to do. When I saw that at Iowa, I thought, good gracious, we should have been doing this for 40 years. I've always been terrified that those things were going to hit somebody, and I've read about paralyzed teenagers because of it.
This stoppage is because of debris on the field.
Well, it only takes a few sick people to mess it up for everybody else, and maybe there's going to be some of that. That's a shame. We had one of our cameramen last year hitting the head with a bottle at another stadium. It's inexcusable.
1st and goal, and a touchdown for Chris Wilson. And the Panthers' only points here in the second half by their terrific senior tight end Wilson. In the wake of Larry Fitzgerald, 4 catches, 45 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And when I said that Pittsburgh was dangerous, Walt Harris, when the spread was 21, well, the spread went to 28. Now just think, if it were down to 14 here and they could onside kick with 3 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock, if they hadn't let Quincy get loose on that last touchdown run, we'd still have a football game.
Abdul for the extra point. 21-point game, 52-31, 3:49 to go. This first half as spectacular as any Bill or I have ever seen. Big play after big play. Unbelievable catch after unbelievable catch. Not all of them by Fitzgerald. So 24 all at the half, and we kind of expected what will they have for us in the second half. Well, West Virginia had
some
a
D.
lot more.
Had some D.
And they had some Q.
Yep. Had some D and some Q. You're exactly right. They were minding their D's and Q's. Great job on defense by Coach Castillo's unit, led by Adam Lenort, Grant Wiley, Ben Lynch.
Some of the stuff that Fitzgerald seemed to inspire in the first half. First Wilson touchdown. That touchdown, the improbable first touchdown of the year by John Pennington, every bit as good as anything we saw from Fitzgerald. It's like that all 30 minutes. And I guess it would have been impossible to follow up on that. So West Virginia has gone just to old-fashioned football. Stop everything Pittsburgh has. They have figured out Rutherford with 3 sacks and 3 interceptions in the second half. And the Panthers have never figured out Quincy Wilson, who's at 208 yards, 4 touchdowns on his career night.
That's right. And another thing, what happened to Rod Rutherford, not only did he have the 3 interceptions, but he had a lot of overthrows and a lot of underthrows. He's normally incredibly accurate. This guy's a 61% passer for the year. He's had a marvelous career.
And you know what, we're talking about a guy who has had 419 yards tonight and 4 touchdown passes.
Right.
And they've solved him in the second half?
Well, in a manner of speaking.
Setting up for the onside kick, Adam Gressel. Looks for the big hop, and it goes right to Mountaineer hands. Jerko with 3:48 to go.
We'll take another look at this outstanding defense in the second half. There have been people in Rutherford's face all night, either knocking him down or forcing him to throw on the run. A sack there by Kevin McLean. And when you got that kind of heat, it doesn't matter how good you are, you just cannot play your game. You're getting hit every time you throw the football, or you're trying to throw on the run, and that's not your strong suit. When he was allowed to stand in the pocket in the first half, he was magic. He was 3 touchdowns, 12 out of 19, 250 yards.
Part of a 5th-year senior class that we recruited when the Panther program was really in the depths. After a 2-9 season in '98, K.J. Harris with the carry. Walt Harris came up with Polite, Wilson, Harriet, Moore, and Rutherford. And this team will go to 30-17. They're headed to their 4th bowl. And they have, as a group, completely turned around the direction of the Pittsburgh program.
Well, coming into this game, they were 22-6 in their last 28 games. That's a winning percentage of 78.6%, the best span of that length in 2 decades. 11-3 in their last 14 games. So this is a great win for West Virginia.
And this is a blow for the Panthers, but it does not finish them. There's too much football still to be played in the Big East. Harris with the first down.
Well, great job by K.J. Harris of getting on the ground. You see him plant his foot, turn, and fall down so he didn't go out of bounds. Keep that clock running.
That's what the Panthers still have left. They go to Temple. They have Miami at home. The Mountaineer fans, for one of the few times ever, will be rooting hard for Pittsburgh because they need them to knock off Miami. To give Miami its 2nd conference loss and get them out of the tie with West Virginia because they beat West Virginia 22-20.
Now, this may sound silly, but I think Walt Harris should use his timeouts here.
Harris stopping, starting. Turns a no gain and will pick up a 5. West Virginia the rest of the way. They'll go to 6-4, 4-1 in the league, a 5-game winning streak. And they go to Syracuse and finish at home against Temple. So a possibility to finish 8-4, maybe repeating their record from last year, 9-4, when they finished up in the Continental Tire Bowl.
Okay, Walt Harris is using his timeout. He's going to take a 30-second timeout. Whether or not they have a chance to get back in this game, he's making a statement to his squad. We're going to use every resource to our dying breath to try to win the football game. You're never out of a game until the final gun sounds. If you leave those timeouts on the board, I really believe your team looks at you funny. Well, Coach, you didn't think we had a chance there at the end. So I think it's very wise just making a statement to his football team. Go ahead and use all 3 timeouts.
Both teams left with 2. Once again, Harris. And it'll be 3rd and 2. Harris now with 11 carries, 40 yards, backing up Quincy Wilson's best night ever. 2nd time out here. 2:23. West Virginia's losses, with one exception, have all been winnable games. They lost by 7 to Wisconsin. The one you really scratch your head over is a 2-point loss to Cincinnati. We said they lost by 2 at Miami in the closing seconds, and by 27 at Maryland, the only team that has really handed it to the Mountaineers all year.
But they really felt like they found out about themselves at Miami. They knew they were as good as Miami after that game. Even though they lost, that was the turnaround in the minds of the players and the coaches.
Harris trying to run out the clock, and he'll move the chains again. First down inside the 30.
Really nice job of being the field general out here tonight by Rasheed Marshall. Number 2, the quarterback for West Virginia. He understands the system. Very, very bright young man. Another guy, one of our lunch mates yesterday, who sat there and explained the offense to me, told me what he was looking at when he turned to the sideline to get the signal. Really helped me to understand what West Virginia was doing.
What West Virginia continues to do is dominate the run game like you will almost never see. The run comparison tonight, you won't believe. West Virginia, 294 yards on the ground. Pittsburgh, 10. That is what, a 30-to-1 ratio? My rusty math.
It's a big one.
297 now.
And then you got Pitt with 419 yards passing, 216, and that shows you the relative merits of the run to the pass in scoring most times, not always. Yet another good back down there, Jason Colson, number 24 for West Virginia, who's also a fine-looking football player.
I wish they'd give it to Mo Fofana one time.
Mo deserves
Give
a carry.
Mo a carry and touch the ball all year. The senior fullback. He does all the heavy lifting for Wilson and Harris and Colson.
When I mentioned it to him yesterday, how about getting a carry? He said, oh, no, I don't even think about that, Coach.
Grant Wiley was ready to kick this thing off at noon yesterday.
I think he was. That's that linebacker mentality.
This is what he dreamed about, and it has come true. Another Pennsylvania product from the Philadelphia area. And another first down as they continue to prepare for the celebration, hoping it is just a happy, peaceful celebration.
Well, again, I cannot say enough about the way the players have conducted themselves. There's been no showboating. There's been no taunting, no fistfights, no cheap shots all night long. The players have handled themselves well. Now the fans can do exactly the same. This will have been a great, great victory for West Virginia.
No need to snap it again. West Virginia from a 24-24 halftime tie to a 52-31 win in the backyard brawl. And serious hopes of the Big East Championship after giving the Panthers their first conference loss of the year.